Live from around the world, the #1 show on Google Plus Week. Tablet War 2012 begins as the Nexus 7 ships. Google rolls out Jelly Bean and a Google Plus app for iPad. Will Amazon's push for same-day delivery destroy American retail? And Time Warner is offering cash for Google Fiber secrets. Google Plus Week Live starts right now. And welcome. I'm your host, Dan McDermott. So glad you could join us. We'll be monitoring all the comments and questions as we go. We'll be talking about all of those topics shortly. But first, joining us from a ferry somewhere in between New York and Connecticut, I think, is Alan Prisoner Furstenberg. Alan, welcome, always.
Dan, always a pleasure to be with you.
So I guess the first thing we want to talk about with you, because we only have you for about 45 minutes. Alan is joining us via an audio jerry rig we have. But okay, so I guess one of the things that a lot of folks, I know Oleg wants to talk about this as well, but they're going to allow you to merge your Google accounts, like Google Apps and Google, into one thing. So I looked at the process. I think GigaOM had the first story I saw about it, and I looked at it. It seems cumbersome.
That's not what they're doing, Dan. Just go ahead, talk about this. This is completely different than what it is. You're talking about different situation here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, tell us what we're talking about, Alan.
Well, what we're talking about is, if you remember when they first created the allowed apps accounts to have Google Plus accounts, they said that if you had an existing account, a previous account, they would eventually provide a tool so that you can move your old settings over to your new one. And that was not been forthcoming for several months now at this point. They finally announced that this will be possible with some caveats. So people will be able to move their circles over to another account. Their followers, people who are following them, will also be moved over to that new account. Now, there are a couple of caveats. The first is when you start the process, you essentially have 7 days before they actually do this. So once you say, yes, go ahead and convert over, it's going to wait 7 days before it actually does the conversion. Then once it does the conversion itself will take up to 48 hours. And in that 48-hour time period, you're not going to be allowed to manage your circles, make posts, pretty much use your account. So it's a little bit cumbersome. The other big deal is that it will not move over are your posts. So your posts get left at your old account. Some of your profile information gets left at your old account, but your circles and your followers will get moved to your new account.
It sounds like a huge pain, a huge hassle. Is it worth it? What's the advantage, and what's the risk or disadvantage?
Well, I mean, the advantage is going to be that if you've created a bunch of spare accounts to do this or to try it out before moving it over to your real account, then you're now able to move it over to your real account. If you don't have a lot invested in your messages and posts, it's not too big a deal. Is it a hassle? Yes, it most certainly is a hassle. I wonder just how much of it is really for technical reasons and how much of it is because they don't want people to arbitrarily change accounts on a whim. They want to make sure that people who are doing this are doing it for serious and legitimate purposes.
Okay, let me go to Oleg. Oleg, I got... It was the right article, but it wasn't about Google Apps, so I screwed that up. But
yeah,
anyway,
it wasn't that. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
It involves Google Apps in the sense that most of the people who expressed an interest in doing this to begin with expressed an interest in doing this because Google Apps weren't permitted initially. So they had to do it using a Gmail account instead, which may not have been the Gmail account using. I mean, that's what I ended up doing. I had to use a Gmail account that I'd sit around that had very little other use before that. I would much rather have been using my apps account from the beginning. Now, as it stands, I've got a couple of apps accounts and a couple of Gmail accounts, and it's a mess for me. So I need to figure out exactly how I'm going to consolidate.
Oleg?
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. It would be nice if they allowed you to be able, I mean, they try to do this deal where you can, have multiple logins and stuff, but it really isn't a way to consolidate. I mean, the thing they're doing with circles, if you did have a bunch of accounts and you had, circles in each one, and now it becomes a total mess because you have to check this account, that account for Google Plus, then it's a good thing for those people. But for majority of the people, that's not the case anyway. I mean, majority of the people set up one identity. They may have additional accounts, but it's not like they set up circles in each one of those accounts for the most part, I think. And so that's why it's useful, but it's not, it's not what you were thinking this was, Dan. What you were asking about is, I have all these accounts, I have the same thing. I have Google Plus accounts, I have, Gmail, different Gmail accounts, different things like that. No, I shouldn't say Google Plus accounts, but basically Google Apps accounts and regular Gmail accounts. And it's a pain to be able to I want to be able to have all of them consolidated to a single identity that I'm Oleg and I'm the one who's doing whatever is being done. Just as I'd like to do the same thing, for example, with pages. Right now there's no way that I could go on my phone and share something as a page post. So there's a number of things that they, could do to enhance things, but we are where we are right now, so that's what they're doing.
Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Well, I've been using Google Apps for a long time, and what I've always done is, as far as my email, for example, had it all go through my main Gmail account, and so that if they send an email to whatever of those Google Apps accounts, it's coming into my Gmail, and then I reply, and it uses the reply to whatever address they wrote to. And then as far as logging into all the different sites, I have different Google sites on these different apps and all. I always put my Gmail account in there as the owner of the site, which you can change that to whatever one you want, and that way I can log into all of those using my Gmail address. So basically, I've in effect consolidated all of that together somewhat by just doing it that way. So I don't understand the real problem here that people are facing, but maybe I'm just not seeing it.
I think it's the idea of moving all your contacts over, and because you could obviously share a circle with another identity. That's pretty easily done, but you have to move all your contacts and all that information in one fell swoop. I think that's where it's the difference. But I agree with Oleg again that the brand pages are really important, and that seems to be, you want to brand a certain brand, you'd like to be able to kind of move all that stuff over for that.
Okay. And I am caught multitasking. So I'm trying to crop a shot because Alan, we did this crazy thing with the audio. So, okay, so got it. All right, Alan, there's a new thing with, I guess, the host is not evicted, and I've got the wrong shot. Sorry, I'm messing this thing up. Alan,
By the way, this is the anniversary show. Just let everybody know.
Not really. It's the end of the first. This is episode 52.
This is not the anniversary show. You didn't read my post last week, Oleg. We still have 3 more shows to the anniversary show.
I see.
So we have time to
I can't
gather
read everything.
the highlight reel. Okay, so Alan, tell me about the host is no longer. I think this isn't new though. The host, you can end the broadcast, but the host remains in there. Go ahead on that.
Yeah, this is brand new. They've actually been quietly rolling this out over the past few days, and Martin and I noticed it kind of by surprise yesterday. It took us by surprise, and I was able to confirm it with a couple of Google engineers. Basically, previously in a Hangout on air, once the host hit end broadcast, they were evicted from their own conversation, and the Hangout ended. Now, when they hit end broadcast, the host gets to hang around for an after party. The broadcast does stop, the streaming does stop, but the Hangout lives on. So that's a nice new little feature, a nice little enhancement that they put in without telling anybody.
Is that to everyone now, or is it rolling out?
That is to everybody. We had a show yesterday.
Everybody should have it, but they didn't confirm. When I asked, they didn't confirm if it was 100% yet. Just that everyone, it was almost at everyone when I asked.
Okay.
We did a show yesterday, and that did take effect. So.
Now, what would really be great in my mind, since now the host is not evicted, if all of a sudden you started talking while you're debriefing your show and something else really important came up, if the host could then click publish again and publish a brand new video to YouTube, that would be great.
And append it to the...
But then Dan's shows would never end if that was the case. It would be a never-ending story.
That's pretty much the case anyway.
Well, now he's forced to finish it somewhere.
4 hours, yeah. Are they going to increase that 4-hour limit to 8?
Only for Dan.
Okay.
The Dan McDermott rule, yeah. Okay, I want to talk about. I want to introduce a new guy we have for the first time, real quick, and then we'll get to more topics. Michael Banks, tell us where you are, what you do. I know you're a techie.
Yeah, my name is Michael Banks. I live in Augusta, Georgia, where they do the masters at. I'm a student in college, and I'm also a soldier in the Army. So I do both. Yes, I like technology. I like Android personally. And I like the little Googleplex with all the Google products and stuff like that. But I don't hate Apple at the same time. So I'm kind of subjective.
Well, you're still a student, so that's, it'll grow on you.
You'll fit in anyway. You'll do fine. Okay, well, welcome, Michael. So let's. Who has an iPad? Who has Google Plus for iPad? Who can talk about that? Because they've rolled that out.
I have it.
Okay, Craig, tell us. You're a big Apple fanboy. Tell us.
It seemed like to me like it was kind of jerky. I tried it on both my iPad 3 and my original iPad, and it seemed like some of the times it was kind of like hanging up on me, but that might have just been me. But it looks great. I like the look of it, but I'm just not convinced that it's quite as smooth an experience as I would like to have.
Would it be more accurate to say that this was a new update for iOS that was optimized for the iPad? Because it was new on my iPhone too, with new features.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
It's both of them, I think, were reworked.
I've got a question about
if
that.
it's any different than the Android version?
Say again, Oleg?
Do you by chance know is it any different than the Android version they released earlier?
No, I haven't compared.
There are some differences. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
In fact, there are some interesting differences between the iPad version and the iPhone version from some screenshots that I've seen. The iPad version seems to be missing some menu items, which both the iPhone version and the Android version have, which has raised a lot of people are kind of confused about that. There were some screenshots posted, and I'm going by memory, so I apologize. But if I remember correctly, the iPad version is missing an events menu item and the Messenger, while the iOS and the Android one still have those.
Well, the new thing in the menu system for me on the iPhone was the events and a hangout button now.
Yeah.
So I can actually start a hangout on my iPhone now. It's just got new hangout. Before I could create a hangout through the Messenger app, but now I can start a hangout on the hangout button. But the problem with the iOS still is I cannot join a hangout from the iPhone without an invite. On Android devices, they can give you a link. You can tap on it. It will ask you, do you want to open this up in Google+? You say yes, and you're in.
Right.
It doesn't matter what browser you use, whether it's Skyfire, a Safari, or Chrome, and you click on a link to a Hangout. It forces you to sign in, and then it takes you to a backside Google page that only employees can use.
And the reason it can do that because the Android framework allows you to go to external sites. Apple does not allow any app to link to an external thing inside the app. So that's one limitation to that.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Well, I know there's a point coming in because it's listed on the show notes, so I imagine we'll get to it. So I don't want to jump ahead, but Google does have a way to show developers how to make iOS app links open in Chrome. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not. So,
as long as Apple doesn't stop it.
So what menu item were we thinking was missing here?
Events, Messenger.
Yeah,
My understanding is events and Messenger are missing.
Does it have notifications on it? At the
Alan,
bottom?
all mine says is Home, Profile, Hangout, Find People, Settings, and then it gets to notifications.
Oh, that's right. And circles are also missing from that menu, although you can get to them in other ways.
See if you can see that or not. What's on there?
Yeah, I see it. I got it.
Yeah. And it's operating pretty smooth now. The first time I tried it, it was a little bit jerkier, but now it seems to, when you scroll across, it just kind of loads, these things.
It's really odd that with the screen real estate of the iPad, I have more, icons on my iPhone than you do on your iPad on this new version.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially since the Android tablet version has that. So it's not clear why the iPad version seems to be more limited than the iPhone version, unless they ran into some iOS limitation, but that seems really strange.
But from what you described, Bruce, even the iPad version is nowhere near, in terms of features, as the Android one is. Because what you're describing...
Well, let's keep in mind that iOS came out with the best version last ahead of the Android. But yes, now the Android version does have more features than the previously released iOS version. Now this new iOS version has got more buttons on it than the iPad version, but it's still missing some good features.
Is that also because iOS is not native for Google Apps, and is there any kind of restriction in the kind of features they can have?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Alan, what do you think?
I can't imagine why that would be a limitation at all.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have the same attributes.
Yeah,
Well,
access to it.
There are
And
definitely a lot of
particularly
buttons
like-
missing. I'm comparing them side by side right now. The Events button is missing. The Messenger button is missing. The Photos button, the Circles button are all present on the iPhone and not present on the iPad.
Maybe it's coming.
You would think.
Or maybe it's not.
So, Craig, do you like it? I mean, are you a fan?
Fan of what?
The iPad version. You said it's jerky.
To tell you the truth, I don't use my iPad that much, so I'm probably not a good one to ask. And right now, it seems to be working very smooth. The first time I tried it, it was a little bit jerky, but right now it seems very smooth, and it's a lot like using what's that news one we all like?
Flipboard?
Flipboard, yeah. It's similar to that when you're flipping through these. They load in nice. Then you can tap on one, and it loads it up. Like this is what I was running into. I just tapped on a video, and I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
It pulls up like this box with the text and all. And then, let's say I want to get rid of that. Let's say I would think I would just tap right here, right? And that would disappear. But wrong, it doesn't disappear. If I start playing the video, if I hit play and I start playing the video, notice it's even still there, right? And so I'm not really sure like how I get rid of that pop-up. I'm trying like a lot of different things. Now the video is playing and the thing is still there. So
You can dragging it down, Craig.
little yeah, it went down. Okay.
Yeah.
So like it's just me because I haven't used it. But to me, it's not that intuitive. For me, you should have been able to tap anywhere, like over here, and it should have just disappeared, right?
Yeah.
So it's little things like that.
That's a very basic thing. How would they get it wrong?
Well, they're not developing from an Apple perspective. That's the problem.
Yeah, I have heard some people complain that some of the gestures are different than what you'll find in other apps. So for the two-finger pinch or the two-finger something, works differently than other apps. But, I think it's a good first attempt.
Yeah, I did try to zoom. I did try to pinch and enlarge like a photo, and that didn't work one time I tried it. So there's just little things like that I think it's more me not knowing how to use it, but it does seem like it's a little bit kludgy from a standpoint of the UI. But it's beautiful.
Do you have an Android tablet, Craig?
Not
I'm
yet.
curious how you would compare. Okay, so we don't have anybody in the room who's used both the Android version and the iOS version on mobile.
That is an accurate
tablets.
assessment there.
Okay, all right. Well. So there's
I
an
have a
intensive
question,
review.
Has Flipboard really reduced the use of the Google Plus mobile apps to any one of you?
No way.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
I mean, Flipboard, it's really good, right?
Uh-huh.
I get my Google Plus feed in there, anything I want in there. So has Flipboard really reduced for any one of you the amount of Google Plus use you have on the mobile apps of
No.
No.
No, not at all. In fact, the new Google Plus app, I use that more and more now versus doing the Flipboard Google Plus. So I've been migrating over there.
Jeff,
yeah, the things that I always hit on my iPhone are the Google Plus, my Twitter, and my Gmail. And then if I have time left over, I go to Flipboard.
I find I played a lot with Flipboard and then go to Margie, but when it first came out, we did the review, and I know, Jeff, you were all excited about it.
Yep.
And you did your famous look. It flips.
It flips.
It flips. I was picking on Jeff, but
It's a Flipboard.
yeah,
It's beautiful. It's
beautiful. But I found I was using it a lot when it first came out, and it is awesome. And it's like another of the 50,000 really cool things. And sometimes when I'm reminded, I'm like, oh, I haven't used that for a while, but I don't know why, just because it lost my attention to something else. But really, I revert back. I know. I think you said the same thing, Craig. Nobody can touch Twitter as far as seeing the things exactly, the sources that exactly you want in the most compact form, so you can quickly peruse, hundreds of different things and click on the things that interest you. Am I right on that?
For now.
It all depends where you are. If you're sitting waiting in a doctor's office, Flipboard is perfect.
Yeah, I will tell you this. I said this when we all went Goo Goo Gaga over Flipboard, and I did that as much as anybody. And but to answer your question, I haven't been using Flipboard as much. However, what I said last time we reviewed Flipboard, I've been in Florida on business, and Flipboard is still my one-handed app of choice when I'm eating a continental breakfast in the Marriott, because I can, with one finger, I can eat with one hand, and I can navigate Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, everything on that one app. Flip with my thumb. And
I think that's the reason Flipboard is so cool. It's not that it's beautiful. There's nothing exceptionally beautiful about it, but the fact that you can so easily operate it to go back and forth and between the different categories and stuff. I think one of the problems they have with Google Plus implementation is it's hard to get to that. It's not as easy to get to it as quickly as you want to be able to get to it. I think that's one of the reasons why maybe people don't use it as much as Google Plus.
And what do you mean by? But what do you mean by that?
Well, I think you have to go. I just remember that it's not, in my case at least, the way I have it set up. It's not. It doesn't come up as one of the main categories. I have to go through some other accounts or something to get to my Google Plus there.
Also, it's pointless to share from there because all you're going to get is the ugly link that you used to get.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
There are tricks. I read about all those to get your actual link.
I disagree with the it's not beautiful part. I think it's very beautiful. It's one of the most intuitive news apps or current activity apps, whatever, an aggregator, whatever you call it.
Yeah, but Srik, what does that have to be beautiful if it's intuitive?
It's very intuitive. It is more intuitive than the
Beauty
Google
is.
Plus
We're not going to argue about whether or not it's beautiful because that's
Flipboard a whole
subjective
lot better than
criteria.
the Google Plus app. I can't hear Dan.
I use them for two different things, though. I use it for browsing the headlines. Flipboard is great. You want to browse the headlines and see what's going on?
I'm using the search through my circles on Google Plus.
But if you're looking at whether any one of these specific apps, like Google Plus or Twitter or Facebook is working good or well on Flipboard, that's a different scenario altogether. But if you're looking at in an entirety, you're looking at everything, I think it's pretty good.
Okay, so
no, it's a great app. It's my favorite Android app, without any question. Without any question. In terms of how the whole thing is put together, the usability, everything else, by far my favorite.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Yep.
Okay, so it's awesome. There's this crazy.
So we all agree.
We all agree. There's this crazy story. We're going to get to Jelly Bean and the Tablet Wars, but just briefly, this Time Warner Cable apparently put a sign up in Kansas City where Google's working on their secretive Google Fiber project for gigabit Ethernet throughout the town or whatever. And they offered $50 for any secrets. from employees, and someone got a picture of a sticker or a sign or something. This is insane. Pam, what do you think about this kind of? I mean, it's totally legal. It's funny. I think. What do you think?
I think that there is no benefit for Time Warner to have this, to get any secret information.
Why not?
Google will take over, and that'll be it. You know.
They can cut their losses and pack and leave.
Well, then they should spend their $50 packing.
Not yet. You assess your competition first.
Now, Dan, I know you moved on, but I do want to say one more thing about this Google Plus app. Here's a perfect example. There's a picture. There's a comment on it. I pull this down. That's as far as it'll go down. I can't get that out of the way. I can't make this picture full screen, no matter what I do.
What if you tap on the picture? Does it do anything?
Now it finally went away. Okay, I tapped like 4 times, and now it finally went away.
No, you have to
back up.
tap on the
See,
Is that an interface issue? Is that a
Maybe you need better hardware.
Is it,
probably, but it doesn't happen on any of my other apps. It doesn't happen on Flipboard.
I'm teasing you.
No, maybe it's
Flipboard really is
that an
a
iPad?
great, refined, fast app.
So getting back to the Time Warner, you know, it's just a ridiculous thing to try to give me $50 for a secret. I mean, that's just.
They're scared.
No, it's.
Well,
It's,
they're scared, but I think even the funnier thing is it's not really like Google. You know, what Google is doing can be all that secret. You know, there's a pile of stuff they've had to make public filings for. You know, they've stated where they want to run their fiber. The thing that's confusing everyone is they want to run their fiber in the electrical part, which is more expensive. So, you know, nobody really knows what they're doing, what their grand scheme is, and I think that's what they're trying to figure out.
And didn't somebody say the fiber's above ground?
The fiber is on the telephone poles. It's not just that it's above ground. They're stringing it right next to the electrical zone on the telephone poles, which means that it costs them a lot more to string the fiber, which from a cost-effectiveness point of view doesn't make any sense on the surface.
Well, wouldn't it be more expensive to bury it?
yeah, I
Put
would
it
think
underground?
so. Yeah, most definitely.
So why do you say it's more expensive to do it the way they're doing it, Alan?
Well, compared to where Time Warner is running their cable, which is in a lower zone on a telephone pole.
Yeah, but they might not have access to that right away.
They only need to. The right of way is not owned by Time Warner; it's owned by the electric company. So
It's probably owned by the city,
Maybe
actually.
Time
or the-
Warner bought that space from the electric company and isn't willing to share it.
No, I think you have.
No, I think the telephone poles are owned by the city or the municipality, and
They
then
have to
they're not,
share.
They
They
Jeff.
have to
use.
share. We looked
No,
at
they're,
this.
they're actually owned by the utility, yes.
Yeah, but they have to let other utilities use it as long as it doesn't interfere, and it's like a few bucks a pole or something, rental or whatever. Because they can't. I mean, that's part of the deal. That's part of the franchise agreement. We went through this when we were looking at. I used to run an ISP for Randolph-Macon Academy, and we were looking at running some cables there. And I looked into that here, and I think it's sort of like the Fran thing with the where you have to agree to offer reasonable terms for patent use to anybody. I think it's something along those lines, but definitely much cheaper above ground. I was covering the crazy DC Council meeting about the Uber thing, and in the meeting they said that they wanted to bury all the lines for DC, and it was $4 billion. So, but
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's cheaper above ground, but when you're looking at different above ground options, it's cheaper to keep it out of the electrical zone. And Google wants to put it in the electrical zone, which is, I mean, that's where they wanted to put it, which has everyone going, wait a minute, what are they doing? What's the grand picture here? Why are they doing something that seems nonsensical? So everyone's trying to second guess Google, and I think that this is part of trying to second guess them.
Well, maybe they have some secret technology that's going to use the extra electrons that escape from the telephone lines to power their servers or something.
I think that's clearly what's going on, Pam. All right, so
They're going to use Wi-Fi
maybe
and
Alan
kick
can get $50 for for his perspective on this.
So maybe after another 5 years, they'll have it working in Kansas City for a few people, and then maybe after another 20 years, they'll have it in a couple more cities, and then by the time we're all dead and gone, they'll have it in 5 cities.
By the time we're all dead and gone, they'll have something completely different. They'll be like,
I think Moore's law has hit the wall.
I think Sergey will be living on the moon.
I think we're done. Innovation is done.
well, Jeff,
maybe an
Apple user, huh?
It's funny that Jeff says, maybe we'll be on the moon, because Google is thinking about that even. In a statement by Vince Cerf, one of the grandfathers of the internet and currently a Google employee, he said that his current research involves interplanetary and celestial internet communication protocols. That's what he's doing these days. So, internet to the moon is not that far-fetched a design issue.
They'll probably have high-speed internet there before we'll have it here. I would agree with that.
At least per capita.
Yeah.
All right. So that settles that. None of us are going to get $50 from Time Warner because nobody except Alan has a clue. All right. Next up, Jelly Bean rollout has begun for some Android devices. Anybody got it? I mean, obviously Alan has it. You want to give?
Actually, I don't have it, Dan.
It's not on your Nexus?
I have it.
It is not on my Galaxy Nexus. My Galaxy Nexus still has version 4.1, and what they are rolling out now is 4.1.1.
I have it.
I have friends who got it. It sounds like Michael's got it, but it's not fully rolling out. It hasn't rolled out to me yet, anyway.
Michael, you guys talk about compare or whatever. Compare your notes.
What's your phone?
The reason I have it is because I rooted, jailbroken, do all that with my Android. I always keep the latest thing on it. So one of the things that it's like, basically to me, 2 things have changed with Jelly Bean. One is they did Butter to make it very responsive, and Google Now, which is like sort of a Siri competitor, but not so, because it has an algorithm inside of it that really tripped me out. So earlier, I did a search for like a plane ticket on the regular computer in Chrome, and like I just opened up right now, and it shows me how far it is to the airport from where I am right now, and that really tripped me out. I like it. Some people don't like it because of privacy, but I love it.
Yeah.
So which phone do you have?
The interesting thing about the privacy when it comes to Google Now is that every card is individualized. You can turn every single card off. You can tell it what you want it to track, what you want it to store, what you want it to reply to. It's very, very personalized, and you can be very, very nuanced about what you want it to know and what you don't want it to know. I found it not terribly accurate so far. Now, it has taken a whole bunch of the calendars that I subscribe to, including some of my coworkers' calendars, and it cheerfully reminds me of all of my coworkers' appointments, which isn't terribly useful to me. It failed to remind me that I needed to leave in order to catch the ferry tonight, and when it did finally remind me, it was totally inaccurate about the estimate of how long it would take to get there, despite the fact that I had already, was using Google Navigation to get here. So, there are some interesting glitches and disconnects and other issues. So I think it still has to work. But it's pretty cool and very, very, very tailorable. So I think it's got some interesting ways to go, I think.
And one quick clarification.
Michael, what kind of phone do you have?
I have a Galaxy Nexus.
So Alan, is it supposed to get smarter as you use it more? Is that the deal?
As it accumulates more information, it's supposed to get smarter. So, for example, once it realizes that every day you leave home at around 8 o'clock and you get to work at around 8:30, and I'm pulling a random example, it will notice and it'll track what route you take. If it notices there's a lot of traffic on that route one day, it will send you the alert a little bit before 8 o'clock so that you can still get to your office on time. So as it learns your patterns, it's supposed to be able to respond to those patterns better.
It learns, but you also have to teach it. Now, I have it to show me every card and show me every bit of information. Now, I've been using Android since 2009, so it does have a lot of information on me, but I found it to be very accurate, because everywhere I go, it asks me, is this place important to you? If you press yes, you can name that place. So I have like my school, my house, my job, all that programmed into it, and at any point in time, I can go from wherever I am. It'll show me how far it is to my job, my school, my house, and it shows me the calendar. Now that you have to set up. You have to tell it what calendar to sync. You have to tell it. It's a bunch of things that you do have to set up, but once you get it set the correct way, it's very accurate.
Well, you know, Michael, it's not unlike having an assistant. If you're an executive and you have an executive assistant and you want that executive assistant to be efficient and effective, you're going to have to give them the keys to the castle. They're going to have a lot of information about you. There's no privacy. And everybody talks about privacy. Well, if you want all these tools to work, then you can't have it both ways.
Yes.
You either got to turn over the keys to the castle and give them the information so that they can serve you, or don't have them working for you.
I think none of us mind.
Cannot have it both ways.
None of us mind, Craig, because we trust Google.
Well,
and I
that's
think
right.
that's good. But I want to make one quick point.
If you hired an executive assistant, then you're trusting that person and you're giving them all that information so that they can assist you. It's the same thing. We're hiring Google.
A quick point let me make. Daft Griffiths has pointed out twice that 4.1 and 4.1.1 or whatever are both Jelly Bean. It's just two different. It's the slightly newer.
Can't they just peek to see where you are long enough to tell you where the Starbucks is and then dump the data? They don't have to keep it, right?
See, but for that, you have to tell it. You have to search for Starbucks, and then it'll show you all the ones around it. Now, once you choose that Starbucks, later on, it will show you, oh, you are so many minutes away from Starbucks. But you do have to make the initial thing for Starbucks.
And you get to designate which one you want to go to, basically.
But what I'm saying is, Google doesn't have to keep
They keep it. They keep
the
it all.
information.
They keep it, but they're transparent, and you can find all the information they have, and you can delete it.
No, but like Alan pointed out, the important thing is that they're allowing you to turn it off. They're not forcing you to use it.
I don't think you can delete the information, can you? I think once they have it, they have it.
You can't delete it.
You can delete some information in the dashboard.
Yeah.
Pam, the reason it depends. Google doesn't need to keep this, but if you want certain features in now to work correctly and to be able to do what it does, then yes, it is going to need to keep it. It's going to need to know that this is your place of work in order to be able to give you estimates on how long it's going to take to get there, for example.
I've always been told to assume that Google and any of these other services keep everything somewhere pretty much forever. Is that a false assumption?
Falsely true.
Google will tell you exactly what they have about you if you go to the Google dashboard.
Yeah,
And
but
also, you can turn it off.
everything is backed up to something, right?
Wait a minute
One thing
now,
I've
Alan.
read is
Wait,
turn it
Alan.
off.
Alan, wait, back up a second. I can go to the dashboard and I can check all my previous searches since day one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
Yes, it will tell you everything it knows about you.
If you had searched it logged in.
Yeah, but for example, if Google is backing up their server with your information on it, your searches, and then you delete this, they're not going back to their archives and deleting that information, are they?
Do you never know? That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
I
think
think
they
we have to assume. I think we have to assume that they're not.
Yeah.
One thing I did read, that if you turn this feature off, it will erase all the data it accumulated on you.
And I was just using Google as an example. So, Starbucks also keeps my information, but how long do they keep my information? And Facebook keeps my information. It's not necessary that they keep all my history. They only need to know my location and where I want to go, and then they can delete it.
It's like that.
Yeah, but what's the harm? What's the harm in them just keeping everything?
Well, if you don't want them to have it, they better delete it, right?
They won't
Pam,
delete it
it's
if
like
you turn
this.
it off, yes.
If you're
I
in
don't
this,
think they're going to delete it. I don't
No,
think
they
we
won't
can
delete
assume.
it. I
I
won't
don't
delete
think we
it.
can assume that this is going to be deleted.
I
That's
think
what
that
it
Pam,
says.
the point.
They
Hang on,
say
guys.
they will.
I
They
can't
say
even
they
talk.
will.
I don't
Let
trust.
me show you
I,
also.
no, that I do not trust.
Look,
That
Yeah,
I do not
That's
trust.
I agree with Craig. You know, they're backing up their servers. There's no way they're going through their archival backups and deleting your specific information that's been zipped up and compressed. I don't think they're going to unzip it, look for it, delete
Jeff?
it.
They're
It's
not,
a
let me show
lawsuit
you
waiting
this.
to happen, okay?
What?
They say they're going to delete it, and then they keep it. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
But
But
they're
you
not,
can
they're not
say
saying
you
they're
can-
keeping
you
the
can-
active
Pam,
information.
Let me show you something
Pam,
that
Pam,
Google has
Pam.
kept on me.
Pam,
This
you
is
can.
something that they have kept on me for the last 30 days. It shows everywhere I've been in my city for the last 30 days. They don't have to keep it, but they will keep it.
Yeah.
But if
Okay.
you
What about your
your Google
searches?
account.
What about your searches? Are you telling
have
me
that
that
as well.
you can look at your searches for 5 years there?
If you were signed in when you were using Google, yes.
Well,
all that
normally we're
stuff's
signed
there.
in, for gosh sakes.
Well,
Most
you're
of the
not
time we're
always signing. I
signed
don't
in.
always sign in when
Well,
I
but
just
most
sign
of
in
the
now because I'm
time-
using Google Plus. But I've been on using Google and Gmail for over 5 years since Google came out in beta.
And
Gmail
what
came out in beta.
percentage of the time would you say that you're logged in versus not logged in?
If I'm on Google Plus, I'm logged in. If I'm not on Google Plus, I'm not logged in. If I'm not checking my Gmail, I'm not logged into it.
So you
The
keep
same
logging,
thing with Facebook. I log
logging
yes,
out
I
and
do.
then logging back in?
I honestly do. Yes, I do.
That
Because
would wear me out.
especially, you know,
There are
it
many-
doesn't
there are-
bother me. I've
there are-
gotten used to. You make a habit of it, you do it. Same
Let
thing
me,
with
let, me,
Facebook.
let, me, let me tell you this. There are many people who use Google, even if they have Gmail or Google Plus account on an incognito mode or just plain browser without logging in because they don't want Google to know what they searched
Exactly.
or save it. I mean, it may sound strange to you, Craig, but there are people who do it.
But Google does know where you are, even if you are in incognito mode. If you read the incognito disclaimer, they still know where you are, exactly where you are, and what you're doing, and what porn site you're on, and everything else.
That's
If they're tracking all your little cookies and they are
They
doing
still
a
have your.
loophole thing.
They don't get cookies if you're in incognito mode, but they do get your IP address, assuming you hit Google. That's how the internet works, unfortunately. But what they said is they don't associate your IP address with your account unless you're logged in.
How do you know they're not tracking cookies? I mean, they got sued for it on Safari.
In incognito mode, it has no access to your cookies.
Okay.
And
basically the idea is not to leave any trace on a machine.
Pam, what
On a
we got to
on
do
a
is we
public
got to get a
machine.
separate device, and for our porn, cheating on our wife, and a separate login, and just make sure you can have the red one,
Yep.
and then a black
Just-
one,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
Just
And
use
use
a
the
virtual
red
machine.
one.
Yep,
when
that's
you're-
exactly what I do. I have an alternate account, and that's my porn account, and then I have my normal account.
You have to log in for
Yeah,
porn.
And then you have to transfer all your, use the earlier topic about transferring all the contacts and all the information over to your other account. And
You're all insane.
I didn't know that you have to log in for porn.
At
Okay.
the end of the Hangout,
Yeah, if you're in a pay site, you do.
In incognito
Oh my
mode,
God.
you don't save your cookies.
All right. Okay. So we're all going to get a separate device for.
So we all
except
agree.
Bruce. Bruce is just fine.
No, no.
with
I
his
just,
name.
I just wish they would come after all my information. You know, I mean, I've got it all out there anyway for them. Just come get it.
All right, so that settles that. All right, the Great Tablet War of 2012. Alan, give us first of all that they're shipping this thing today, and I guess there were some folks upset. I'm trying to get the right shot here. There were some folks upset because I guess the guy who does Tech Buzz was upset, and Jeff, you know him, because the people who pre-ordered from GameStop were able to pick it up today or got it today, but Google's shipping from the Play Store today, and so they were all up in arms because GameStop people got them before the Play people.
They're up in arms because they were in that GameStop to get them.
Did they
that's
actually?
interesting.
Was it a store pickup, Michael?
I have no clue.
Where's that echo coming from?
no, that's the ferry. That's
Yeah, I think
think
it's
the
the fairy
serious
sound. Because I've got
Yeah,
my
sorry,
earpiece in, I have no
I
audio
had background
here
noise.
except
It's gone now, and so we're disembarking shortly. So let me summarize this quickly. I hadn't heard that GameStop people could pick theirs up, but I have seen the pictures of the Nexus 7 going into Play Store boxes and being shipped out. from what I actually read, people were saying that they were going to be getting it, quote, later this week. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were doing some expedited shipping for some of the early customers. At any rate, I know I've got a couple of people who had them on pre-order, so I'll be getting a phone call shortly, I'm sure, to help them with it.
Now, Alan, do you find that your screen is a little bit dim? I've heard some people complaining about the screen not being real bright.
Have we lost? He's still there. He's probably hearing the whistle and he's muted his microphone.
I'm sorry, there's background noise. Hang on.
Did you hear my question?
This is like in the 1980s, the first satellite broadcast or something.
I did hear your question. What do you mean first satellite broadcast? First satellite broadcast 50 years ago this week. Notable achievement. But that's another story completely.
No, it was before that. It was Nightline with Ted Koppel or around there, wasn't it?
50 years ago yesterday.
50 years?
False that. 50 years. Go look it up. Anyway,
you're right. It was in the news.
To answer your question, the thing that I've seen on it has been that I almost feel like it's flickering a little. That when I look at it, sometimes it gets brighter and then dimmer and brighter than dimmer. It seems plenty bright to me. I haven't noticed a problem with that. The only thing I notice is that sometimes if I'm looking at it in the dark, it kind of will have trouble adjusting. It automatically adjusts its brightness more than I would expect it to. Now, I don't know if that's just my environment.
Can you turn that auto adjustment off?
I'm sure you can. I have not played with it, however, because it hasn't really been annoying enough to me to dig into it.
Do we know if there are differences between the production model that's arriving today, other than the color of the back, and the freebie models that you got at I/O? I mean, is this like, have they fixed anything, or is it basically the same thing?
We can get the 16 gigabyte
I'm
version.
sure it's basically the same thing. I mean, aside from the extended memory, as Jeff points out, I'm sure it's the same thing because it's not like they could have made any major production changes in the past 2 weeks.
Right.
The lead time on these things is longer than 2 weeks, so I'm sure. In fact, I'm sure that it's probably shipping with Android 4.1, and the first thing that happens when you turn it on is that it'll get the update.
Now you have two Jelly Bean devices. What are you using more often?
That's a really good question. I don't actually use either of them all that often. I tend to use the phone more because it sits next to me when I'm working during the day. So when I hear a chime, I will often consult it for whatever has changed. The tablet, I will do reading in bed or G+ in bed or that sort of thing. So I don't use it all that often. I have both of them with me right now. We'll see how I use them more on the go. But I imagine that I'm going to be using the phone more than the tablet.
When you're on the can, which one is better?
Very classy, Dan. Very classy.
There are some things that I will not provide details about.
Thank you, Alan. I don't want to know.
There are some things I do not provide details about.
All right,
we'll leave it
so
at that.
I'm kidding. All right, so that's awesome. Because I heard a lot of folks
Dan, I'm not too shy. I'll answer your question. On the can, it's 2 iPads and a phone.
Well, see, you're just, you've had 7 wives, right?
Now let me say, I do want to say that I thought your question was really, really good because I have a smartphone, happen to have an iPhone here, and I bought a Kindle Fire and rooted it, and I always had this constant struggle. Okay, which one do I want to use for Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or whatever? And I had gotten so used to checking those things on my phone that I ultimately came to the conclusion that I really didn't need the Fire, and I got a regular Kindle instead for reading. So I'm sure there's a compelling reason for a tablet if you're going to go to a coffee house and you don't want to lug your big laptop around. But I thought your question was really good, and I think most people would answer that question, the phone.
I think certainly if you are a big ebook user, you would use your tablet a lot. If you're into Kindle books, and of course you can use that on any tablet.
Last night on that night flight after midnight from Charlotte to Lynchburg, I picked up my book reading on my iPhone in the plane, so that I didn't have to turn on the light and disturb the people around me. So
you
I have to
chose-
say, one of the things I have been noticing myself doing more is that while I am working, if an email or a Gmail notification comes in, even though I've got two computers in front of me, I will use the phone to look at the email or the Gmail to see if it's important. And if it is, then I might switch back to the desktop version. I could easily see myself using the tablet, for example, to as for my reference web pages. So if I'm programming something, or if I will often switch to a web browser in a different window to consult documentation. I might switch to doing that off the tablet instead. And that's a trend that I've thought about a lot more. I've thought about increasingly over the past couple of weeks. We'll see if I actually do it, though.
I can tell you the only reason that I own the iPads is for showing people photos and or videos.
In stereo.
That's pretty much it. Because I've gotten so I do everything on the iPhone. I'm so used to it. The screen's very sharp. No problem at all. Do everything personal just for me, I can do right on the iPhone. But if I'm going to meet with somebody or whatever and I want to show them a portfolio or show them a video I just did or something, then the iPad is priceless. But
I was at
I can
a
easily see
business
that.
meeting. There were 3
I don't really want
iPads
to
in
show
that
people my
meeting, and
phone.
people were taking notes on it. This is how I took my notes on it in Evernote.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just for reference, I'm disembarking now, so if I don't answer again, it's been good seeing you all, and I'll be back on in an hour or so.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure we'll still be here. I pre-ordered the 7, and then I went down and to check out the Galaxy 7-inch tab, and I realized that was going to be too small. And if I wanted a 10-inch tablet, not a 7-inch tablet, and I canceled my order because, I'm looking at it as a browser replacement more than for my laptop more than anything else.
So what are you going to get?
I am hoping that they come out with a Nexus 10, which has been rumored to be out there someplace in fall of this year. So, wait 3 more months and see what surfaces, or, no pun intended, the Surface, from Microsoft. So, in 3 months, there's going to be a lot plethora of new stuff.
I think the Surface, you're going to be really disappointed.
Well, I'm not going to spend the money. I mean,
But what are you basing that on?
The other issues, I'm looking
Craig,
at.
what are you basing that on?
I just don't think they can shoehorn the Windows operating system into a device like that, and with that amount of battery capacity, I just think there's going to be a lot of issues.
No, but have you actually used one?
No, nobody has because they don't have them working. They don't have them working.
Have you had the reviews from people who have used it?
No.
I don't think anybody's used them because they don't have them working yet, do they?
Of course they do. Of course they
Surface?
do.
Okay, I heard they're not.
Yes, they
working.
do, and they had reviews. And one guy I read actually said that he says if you don't actually try it, you have no idea how cool the whole thing, how cool they set it up. So
I heard it got really. It was pretty
don't make
positive.
statements that the thing is no good when you haven't actually seen it or play with it at all.
Well,
I condemn things all the time that I don't know anything about.
He said he thinks it's going to be. He didn't say it sucks. He said he thinks it's
My
going to be.
my default position on everything is condemn it.
I see.
I heard pretty rave reviews. I've
Even
never
if it's
seen.
good.
I'm excited to see what they do. Let me ask the guys who have a tablet. Craig, you've got iPads and.
Yeah, and it's junk. Here, I'll hold it up. It's a piece of junk. I'm thinking about selling it.
What is it?
Which
This
version of
iPad
iPad
3.
is it?
Yeah.
iPad 3. Brute,
Yeah, it
what
runs
are your
hot.
thoughts?
Don't ask.
The Retina display is not clear enough.
It runs hot, and the battery life isn't what they claim, and it's fragile, and it doesn't run apps very good. But other than that, it's great.
Well, you've looked at the specs, Craig, on the Nexus 7. What are your thoughts? A, about that tablet versus the iPad, and what are your thoughts? B, about a 7-inch versus the 10-inch iPad?
I think I would really like a 7-inch, but I would like a good rear-facing camera because I can see myself putting that on a tripod and using that for video interviews and things like that, which I do with my iPhone, thanks to that cable that Bruce told me about. And I could definitely see the benefit of having a 7-inch screen in that scenario where you can really see clearly what you're shooting, and I would love it. I couldn't put the iPad on that. I mean, it just wouldn't work. It's too kludgy. But a 7-inch would probably mount nice. A lot of people put a 7-inch screen on a DSLR, for the same reason. They want a nice big
What's
view
the
of what they're
quality
shooting.
of the iPhone, like the 4S camera, video and still versus what an iPad will do?
It's better. The 4S has a better camera than the iPad 3. The iPad 3 has the best camera of all the iPads, right? But the rear-facing camera is still not as good. It's more like the iPhone 4 camera.
So why would you want a rear?
He wants to do
has a
movies. He
killer-
wants to take
I
video.
would like-
I
if you
would
already
like
have an
the
iPhone,
same
why do you want it
camera-
on your tablet?
I would like the same camera that's on my iPhone 4S, the
It's the same
rear-facing camera. I would like that on a 7-inch unit because it would be great for doing interviews.
So you're saying that it's not as good as the 4S camera? The 4S camera is miles better than the 4 camera.
The 4S camera is good. I use it. I mean, it's good. And like I say, with the attachment, the device that Bruce told me about, I can hook a nice mic up to it, and it's great for interviews. Set it up on a tripod, get 2 people, do an interview, you're done, in the can.
I think the video is also 720p, 1080p, I don't know.
No, the video is 1080p.
Right.
It's decent video. Obviously, the sensor's not that big and so on, so you're not going to get shallow depth of field and all of that. But if you got a decent background and you got decent lighting, you can get a good, acceptable video out of it.
For some reason, the iOS device always had some problem with the quality of the cameras.
Is it 8 megapixels on the iPad?
It's 8 meg. No. On the iPad, I think it's 5 megapixels. On the iPhone 4S, it's 8.
But it's
a
the
better
same camera sensor.
Say again.
It is a difference in megapixel, but it's the same camera sensor. So what you're seeing, the reason it looks different is because it's on a bigger screen. If you maximize your iPhone screen to the same size as the iPad, then it will look about the same.
Well, I disagree because the pictures you take with the iPhone 4S, even if you zoom it up in your regular desktop or your laptop, they look better. I haven't really seen the pictures from iPad 3, but if Craig says it's right.
Megapixels. That's megapixels.
Well, the iPad 3 has a better camera than the iPad 2. So
when we're comparing iPad 3 with iPhone 4S, I think it's just a matter of megapixels.
Yes.
I don't know. I heard they're slightly different. So I don't know if the lenses are the same and all of that, but I'm just assuming that the 4S is a better camera. I don't really use my iPad 3 to take pictures, so I can't really say that I've compared them. But let's assume that they're the same even. I still would like that, a good camera, in a 7-inch form factor, because that would be fantastic for the video interviews. Because when I'm doing them with the iPhone on the tripod, it's a pretty small screen. And you can use it, and it works fine. But if it was a 7-inch, you could really see what you've got framed out and what you're doing and so on.
Let me
That's
ask
all I'm
Bruce.
saying.
You're an Apple and an Android fan, I guess. What do you think about 7 versus 10-inch?
The question is too.
Bruce Turner?
I don't know. I mean, I watch the people around me with 10-inch tablets, and I see some value to it. But I don't know. I think I would prefer the 7-inch just because of the greater mobility. That's just where I'm at today.
What I find funny is people taking the 10-inch or 7-inch, 10-inch, the larger tablet, and taking pictures everywhere in New York City. There's a new camera out there. It's total, I don't know, you know what it is. I would love a 7-inch tablet. That's why I like the new Nexus. And remember, I'm an Apple fanboy.
And also, keep in mind that in terms of performance, the Nexus 7 would kill iPad 3. No any question.
I'm pretty sure. Wait till Apple comes up with the 7-inch.
My Nexus Transformer is faster than iPad 3.
Oleg, back to school season's coming up. Typically, if they do have the Nexus 10 out, I'm guessing for back to school shopping, the 10 would probably outsell, right? Or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Nexus 7 is going to be a huge seller.
I agree. That price point rules everything. I don't care. As a parent,
it's not just that, but if you look at everything, price point in terms of its specs and everything it can do in terms of games, everything it does in terms of media consumption, all of that, it kills Apple in all respects.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, Hermine.
Well, I was going to say, here's the thing. I'm a parent. I'm paying for it. The most important thing is the price point, and that I know at some point it will get lost, broken, stolen, whatever the situation is. And what they're offering with the 7-inch, I don't have to buy my kid a laptop anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah,
already afforded that, and good to go.
If they had a 10-inch for, I think the rumored price Nexus 10 is going to be $299 with 16 gigabytes, right? Would that be the better buy than a 7-inch?
Oh my God! Only $50 more?
No, but
$50 more,
but it depends what you want. Did you hear
Yeah,
what
I'm
Bruce
just saying.
said?
Oleg, yeah, but I mean, that's been rumored out there. It's going to be $299.
No, but did you hear what Bruce said?
Yes, I did hear what
Looking
Bruce said.
for a smaller form factor.
I was asking Hermine if she would buy that for her.
I think a $299 price point is still fair. I figure we go through every other year. We're buying some sort of new computer software. If they're changing it now so that everything is on the cloud, I don't have to buy a computer for her, right? I can just buy something that she can use, and $299 or $199, it's not an issue.
How old is she?
7-inch.
How old is she?
My daughter's 15.
She's 15. Buy her a computer.
She has a computer as well. That's not. The point is, I mean, if you can get it all done with the keyboard, a mouse, and this 7 or 10-inch screen at that price point, I can afford to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I'm like, if she just wants something to sit around play on the couch with, play a few games with, yeah. If she wants something that she's going to be doing a lot more stuff online with. So I have a 6-year-old running around niece, and she'd rather jump on a laptop, I'm not joking, than touch her tablet. We can't even get her to touch it right now. She doesn't want it.
I think
she
that's fair.
She can't get on all the sites that she loves. She can't do the things she wants.
What's going to end up happening is she'll end up getting my computer when I get I'm looking at the Air. But nonetheless, I do like the idea of some of the things you guys discussed.
Everything depends on use case and exactly what you want to do with it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I just find that I don't carry the iPad. I really thought that I was going to carry this one when I got it, because I got the cover, and it's relatively trim. You know, but I usually give this stuff away. I don't usually sell it, but
okay. Well, can you put me first on the list then? Either way, sell it or give it away.
You're always way up on the list. So
You're a diplomat. I like that.
Great answer.
But I find that I don't take it with me. I take it when I'm going to meet somebody, when I know I'm going to show them a video or some photos or whatever, and that's like once every month at the most. And so 90% of the time it's just sitting here. So, but if I had a 7-inch, I would probably carry that. That could go in my gear kit, you know, with my camera gear and all that stuff. That could probably slip in there somewhere, and I could carry it with me.
Or your man bag. You got a man bag, don't you, Craig?
I've got. Oh man, I'm gonna get my man bag.
You
wait till you see my man bag.
Pants.
Be proud of your
Cargo
fanny
pants
pack,
route.
Craig. What about ruggedness? Bruce, the iPad. You have an iPad? I can't remember, Bruce.
No, I don't have an iPad.
I guess we'll wait for Craig. So we had a question from George in the Netherlands about the ruggedness. I think Alan said that when he had he said it was a lightweight. What about the ruggedness? That is your man bag. My goodness, and you're on your
This is more like my transformer. I got a keyboard for it, but you can actually fold it up and it becomes like a little laptop, and it's pretty rugged. I went to a meeting today. It's very convenient to have the keyboard and everything. So
It's like one of those doomsday prepper bags.
Yeah.
I got one too.
Can't turn my damn lower third off.
How
There we go.
Is the iPad rugged, Craig? Would you describe it as that?
With the case.
Okay, so the iPad is fine. I mean, it's not gonna. It will fit in here, by the way. It'll fit in the man purse barely, just barely. But the man purse already has too much stuff in here to put that in. But yeah, you want a man purse. That's a man purse.
That's out of control, Craig.
Is that a Maxpedition?
Yes.
Does it have
Yeah,
Frederick?
and that's what I was going to say. I'm going to put that link in here. If you this is for carry gun carry and several other things. But for a 7-inch, I don't. I looked at a Maxpedition for a 10-inch tablet. But I know you can get a great Maxpedition case for a 7-inch tablet.
How are you spelling that?
It's MAX PEDITION, maxpedition.com.
You really want
looks
to lose
like
your
that.
mind. Look at what's inside there. Can you see that?
That's
Oh, yeah.
you got a little desk in there.
That
See,
looks like
here-
that
Look, this
for TV purse.
this was inside it. Okay.
It's a baby one.
What is that?
It's a baby
You know what I'm
purse.
going to call it? He has a diaper bag. That's what it is. He's the man version of a diaper bag.
Wow.
What?
It's a manicure
What do
set.
you need all that for? You have toenail clippers and fingernail clippers. And
See, that's what I said. It's like a doomsday prepper bag. It's like he's
If
going to
you-
bug
if
out or something.
You name it, it's in this bag.
You're fire service,
Anytime
aren't you?
anyone says, Craig, are you ready to go? Yep. I'm good.
I know, I was going to say pink cookies in a plastic bag, but never mind.
All right, so we all agree Craig does not need a new man purse because he has an awesome purse.
Yeah, he's ready for the zombie apocalypse. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Craig, why are you single?
You think of everything.
I've already been married a couple of times.
Okay, then.
So
That's what I say.
you've gotten
I
smarter.
think he's a workaholic. He's a workaholic.
But,
Okay,
but if you're asking,
go ahead.
Right, right.
I'll send you first class plane tickets.
Oh my
You guys
God.
heard it here first. You heard it here first.
You'll be able to pick up your iPad in person.
Everyone has needs. He'll give you
I hate.
personal.
My dad lives out in Arlington. I can kill two birds with a stone.
He'll give you a manicure. I mean,
Size 9.
with
Size
his
9.
kit. Okay, so
Number 3. Sorry.
I'm excited. I've been looking at. I was looking for a negative review of the Nexus 7, specifically just because I was seeing all these glowing, crazy. It decimates the Kindle Fire. There's no more reason to even consider the Fire. What a difference $19 makes. It was just from mainstream, like CNN, ABC News, not like Wired or something like that. It was like mainstream news sites. I mean, Michael, were you shocked? I mean,
No.
everything Google does, all the Google haters come out, right? And they're predictable. It's the same ones, and they trash everything. But I have heard not one negative review of the Nexus 7 from any reputable source.
Because you can't beat the price and it has good hardware to boot. Once you get those two, there's no complaint.
And the
And
software,
the
it's
OS.
a faster.
And the OS is exceptional this
They
time
did a
around.
good job on the OS, exactly. But I just really, I'm excited, and it's going to be really neat. And the 10 is going to be wild.
No, if Fire killed a lot of sales for Apple during Christmas, I can only imagine what the Nexus 7 is going to do.
The Fire
Absolutely.
is junk compared to the Nexus 7, but the
You
Fire
can't-
wasn't
we
junk.
talked about it before. You can't compare the two at this point. Yes, but you got to understand that Fire
Right.
came out a year ago. You're
Exactly.
comparing apples to oranges.
At the time, it was a killer tablet for $200. It was the only
Yeah.
thing
It-
remotely close to
It
that quality
basically
for that
proved the
point.
price point and the tablet size.
Exactly.
For
But
Google.
everything we've seen, we're all of us here, except for Michael, I guess, are old enough to, and maybe Margie, are old enough to have seen many cycles where something comes out and it's really expensive and then it gets cheaper. I remember reading the first the Texas Instruments article, the first calculator under $99 or $100. It was a $99 calculator. The first time was under $100. I saw that article and I was.
No, it's not that, Dan. It's just Apple is rip-off artists. We can tell it. Did you see this article that said that the Nexus 7 costs Google $152 to make?
No,
Okay.
you know what? I don't think that Apple's rip-off artists. I think what they're doing is they're putting in the price for service into the price point. So I have no issue paying a few $100,000, whatever
The next
more,
one of us.
I do.
to make
not-
sure
it's
that
just
when
they're
my
the-
computer goes wrong, I can
Exactly.
speak it to a
That's my
genius and say, fix it. That is invaluable to me because I'm not as tech savvy as some of the other people in this Hangout.
But their profit is remarkable. Their
Yes, it
percentage
is.
of profit.
But Dan, one of the reasons that their profit is so high is because they buy everything in such bulk and they negotiate such good deals. So I can see Apple coming out with a 7-inch for like $250 or $299.
Plus-
That's just a just awesome 7-inch unit.
Yeah, the
Plus-
iPhone
It
really,
must be an
the
awesome
iPhone was what it was
7-inch
all about. The
What has-
iPhone alone
What
is
has
bigger
Apple
than
came out? Hold on a
Microsoft.
second. hold on a second. Craig, what has Apple come out with recently that was awesome in terms of innovation? What have they come out with?
I'll tell you, they panned it. They panned it when it came out, but my iPhone 4S is awesome. It's an awesome piece of hardware.
So is my Samsung S2. So what?
And the next phone that they come out with this fall will again leapfrog, because remember, they do it every 2 years. They come out with their new unit every 2 years.
I remember.
The interim phone is always just an upgrade, which the S was a great upgrade. I probably will not buy the new one when it comes out because I like my 4S so much. And I normally buy the phone every year. I normally buy a new one every year, but I like this one so much.
Let me interrupt. Oleg, what can be the new MacBook Air?
What can be what?
The new MacBook Air is off the chain.
What can beat it, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
What can be the MacBook? I don't know. I haven't looked into it to tell you.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. The new MacBook Air on solid state drive with Retina display. There's nothing out there in the market which can come even close to it.
In what regard?
There's a few Ultrabooks that are on par performance-wise, but if you're looking for just an Apple product, then yeah.
No, but in what form is it the better machine? What makes it so much better?
Does the Ultrabooks have the same kind of display?
It has what now?
You guys can't hear me?
The display. He's asking if the display is as good.
Display. What's the resolution on that machine?
Spec for spec, they are the same. There are many Ultrabooks that are out there now.
Exactly. That's what
then what is Apple so harping about on the Retina display?
The only one that has the Retina display is the new MacBook Pro that they just came out with.
I think even the Air.
No, the Air has
No?
The Air doesn't have the high-resolution display yet. They probably will roll them into those other units in the next year or so, but they're not yet.
So if the specs are the same, what is the difference between a regular high-definition display versus Retina display?
Nothing we can tell with our eyes. That's for sure. I took my Prime tablet to Apple Store and look at iPad 3. My eyes could not tell why their display is better than mine.
But just about everybody that has looked at that new MacBook Pro with the Retina screen has said that it's awesome. So I don't know. I haven't seen one yet.
Many people will say the same thing about iPad 3. So that doesn't mean it's awesome.
Let me tell you this. One thing I don't like about all the mobile devices from Apple is the tight control they have and the fact that they don't allow USB. A lot of things I don't like about them. But in terms of hardware, in terms of finishing, you pay that extra premium price, but the products are extremely better. But I haven't used any of the Android devices, so I wouldn't say that arbitrarily. But let me tell you this. Whatever I've used, I've been extremely happy. I've used a ton of Dell laptops, HP laptops, total crap.
Well, I think there's also the difference between having control of the hardware and software, right? There's a difference, right? When you have Windows, let me finish, Greg. Windows can make that misstep, and then the hardware is just fails all along the lines. So Windows has memory leaks, they have issues. So
everybody talks about control, but the way I look at it, it's a different issue. The issue is the integration of everything. So, and I'll give you a real quick example. If I put my photos in iPhoto, I can go in iPhoto and I can create sets, I can create faces, tag people's faces, I can create albums, I can do all of this, and I can very easily sync those over onto my iPhone, tell it which ones I want on there, which ones I don't. I can change that very easily. And so I can control the whole experience without it being kludgy, without it being a walk around, without having to take my photos and put them in folders and then say, I want to move this over and I want to move that over.
I want to disagree because I think iPhoto is stupid. I actually like Picasa on Apple as opposed to iPhoto. iPhoto is too complicated, and I'm a software engineer. I think it's too complicated. And then what I would say is Apple wants to control. Apple doesn't want you to share content. Apple doesn't want you to copy from an iPad. Can you actually, if you have a song which you own?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Picasa does not have the functionality yet that I have with iPhoto as far as organizing the photos. And as far as putting my hand on the photo very quickly and very easily, they're not as organized.
What is the functionality you're missing in Picasa?
Well, I use them both, and it's awkward to organize and sync photos. You tell me how I can sync certain photos from Picasa over onto my iPhone.
Picasso what?
Well,
You tell me.
I use Picasa mostly to sync up with my Google account, so I find it easy.
So there's no Picasa iPhone app?
There is, but it's kludgy.
There's only one?
Oh, I'm sure there are others, but they're all kludgy.
Okay.
All right.
It's
We're
so
getting in
fast
the
and
weeds
easy
here.
for me to do it with iPhoto. It's not funny.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. The next thing, Smithsonian. Whoa,
Someone is echoing.
it's Jeff. The Smithsonian has now mapped their museums inside, so I guess you can know where you're going inside the museum. I guess you know. Wait, honey, don't use that bathroom. There's no toilet paper in there because Google's updating like with traffic, right? So this is kind of neat. And then we saw, so it's like logistics, the actual map inside the building, and then also one of the national parks or something. They did a Google Earth trip through it. So they're really up in their game with maps. Michael, have you seen any of this? What do you think?
Yes. Actually, I'm a Google trusted photographer, and I have what they ask me to do is what they send me out to a business, and I give the business the opportunity to bring Street View in their business. So if you want to map out things like the mall, they have an app that does that with your Android phone. So as you walk around it, it maps it out. They're already collecting this data. They just implement it in different ways.
You mean I can go through the mall as just any trusted photographer? How do you become a trusted photographer?
Well, it's two different things. The trusted photographer for local businesses. It's actually, they talked about it at the Google Plus Photography Conference. And basically you take a test, they teach you how to do panoramas and do different things with Street View. They show how to link the photos together. Mm-hmm. But there's an app called, I think it's called Intersection Mapper or something like that, that goes in the Android phone where anyone can do. And what it does, it maps out where you walk around different places.
We are the Borg. We just don't know it.
It's there. It's
Really?
there.
So you can charge businesses for this?
Yes. And the only thing you're charging, it's not Google charging them. It's me as the photographer.
Yeah, you're charging them
for
a
the
fee.
photography.
Yeah, for your time.
I
and your
thought
expertise.
Google paid the fee.
No.
Well, then who makes the sale?
What do you mean the sell?
Does the photographer have to sell the local business on this?
Yes.
He's basically an independent consultant.
Yeah, basically.
So you
So
just go
they're
up and say,
providing
hey,
a
do you want to
service
be
that
your business in
using
Google
a Google
Maps? And you
app,
give them a little
basically.
dog and pony show and you show them what it looks like. And they're like, yeah. And what do you charge? What's the going rate?
They don't. It's actually up to the photographer.
But you have
Google
to.
doesn't say.
Is there a standard form or agreement that the business has to sign off on?
There is.
Okay.
Craig
So
and I are
Dan,
thinking
we
the
should
same
roll that
thing,
into
yeah.
our package.
Yeah, where I was gonna say immediately. I'm thinking, you can be on Google Maps because that's
Because we're kind of doing the same thing already. Kenny's already putting them on Google Local and all of that and linking it to their page on our site and all that.
The only thing that's proprietary is the actual Street View that's in the business. So the thing they did with the car, driving the car around the streets, you're the trusted photographer actually doing that for the store.
Yeah.
so when you're in the store, you're capturing all their Wi-Fi emails.
Only if the camera has that capability.
with your Nikon or Canon. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Okay. Up next. So I guess that's cool. I mean, the museum thing and the expansion of Google Maps, and that's really interesting about Michael. What we learned there. Okay. Let's talk about the FTC case. Google has settled with the FTC over the Safari cookies, and the settlement was $22.5 million. and then one of the stories pointed out that Google earns that in 5 hours. So they're really getting hammered by the FTC. Why don't you guys? I hear a knock. So why don't you guys, Craig? Why don't you talk? Does anyone here know, Sarik or anybody here can tell us exactly the details about this in layman's terms? Nobody knows.
I
have
know.
no idea.
So
Somewhat.
the only thing I can speak to is, my dad works for the FTC. He's an attorney, and he's suing companies all the time. And I got to admit, when I saw $22.5 million, my mouth dropped open because I honestly have never seen anything that big. They usually don't go after organizations in that way, so I just wonder if it's setting a precedent for all organizations who look at or do things in that may not be on the customer's behalf. What I saw, it could very well have just been a simple mistake, but the FTC seemed to think of otherwise.
Basically, they caught Google with their hand in the cookie jar. It was a functionality of like Google Plus, and they found themselves in Safari not able to do that. So they created a workaround for people to like +1 things and for it to come back to the Google Plus experience. And that's in Apple's terms of service for things to link to other services.
Cookies. Yeah.
Through cookies, yeah.
Something about a primary cookie, and they linked it to, I don't know, some other cookies. So wherever you went on the web, it was, tracking you. So it was kind of against their do no evil policy.
That's debatable. It depends. Like if you have Google Plus and your +1 button doesn't work, you're going to be angry at Google. But for them to make it work, yes, it's against Apple's terms of service. But they are making that thing work. They're doing good for the consumer, but they're not doing good by the Apple rules.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't like Apple, you got to respect the fact that they have their system built in a certain way in Safari, and if they didn't want, those cookies tracked, then they shouldn't have done that. And I don't know, I was reading something today whether or not Google has gotten very quiet about it, but they did change some stuff, some of their help, pages and stuff to kind of say that they didn't do that. So I don't really know whether they did or not. I haven't read enough about it. So
It seems
I
like
only
they
read
changed their help. They changed their help pages to say that we don't do stuff like that. So it wasn't like an assertive with it or affirmative. It was more just, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so who knows? I mean, it's not going to hurt them. They have Googles and money. They'll be fine. Hopefully, they learn their lesson. They won't kind of do that.
Did Dan mention something like it's like 5 hours of Google's revenue or something? I mean,
I think he said 2 hours of the revenue or something strange like that.
5.
Okay.
How many hours of their profitability? Does anyone get that one? Because I get revenue is important, but sometimes...
That's true, again.
Yeah, but...
we lost Bruce.
$5 million.
Yeah, he had to drop out.
Oh, okay. I just noticed.
So did Oleg.
They're just losing everybody. What are we?
Well, it's for the people on the West Coast like myself, it's almost dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are moving on to the next topic, let's discuss.
Whoa!
All right.
Why are we getting to this one so quickly?
Because we don't have anything to say.
But you guys understand that they put a 20-year, I don't want to call it moratorium on them.
It says Google and the others used a trick to set third-party cookies to a primary cookie set by the current site. This was a clear violation of Apple's intent, when it created that setting, and also was definitely not a common practice in the industry as Google wanted the public to believe. Google initially claimed the loophole was exploited unintentionally, but has since backed away from that position, and that's from Reed White.
Right, but I think we're actually looking at the wrong point. I don't want to say the wrong point, but there's a different point to be looked at here. All of the companies, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, and Google, are being watched by the FTC for the next 20 years, or maybe not next 20, but they're all under this kind of scope, at least it relates to the States, for 20 years. And so I'm wondering why it should even have some of the issues that it does.
Because most of the practices that these tech companies do is they implement a feature and apologize later.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because they want something done, and the only way it's going to happen if they force you to do it, and then once you start complaining, oh, we're sorry this happened, but we're going to fix.
Because they're rushing out to market on a lot of different things, and then they realize, they made a mistake.
Was it a mistake or was it purposeful?
That's debatable. And that's what the FTC decided. They're the deciding factor, saying, no, it's not a mistake, you're going to pay for it.
But, I don't think almost
going
all
forward,
these
we're going to
sites
stop
are.
this.
I don't think anything ever is a mistake. Anything ever is not a mistake. I think it is all purposeful, and if you get caught, you pay the fine. That is what Microsoft used to do all the time.
That's what everyone's doing.
And $22
It
million
is on purpose.
is nothing.
It's on purpose because they don't want to hire lawyers. They don't want to investigate. They don't want to know whether it's a violation, or they already know it's a violation.
Right, because the amount of money you make out of a mistake. So it's simple. Microsoft kicked Bowser, Netscape out of the market by doing all kind of anti-competitive things, and then finally they settled. They paid money to whoever it was, but by that time, Internet Explorer was already the #1 browser in the world.
Mission accomplished.
All right, let me ask Michael. You said your relative is a FTC person. Why is this an FTC?
That was me.
Oh,
my
it was
dad works for the FTC.
Okay, why is this an FTC issue and not Apple suing Google for violating its terms of service? Why is it not a civil matter between the parties involved? Why is it an FTC issue? Or I guess because they violated.
If it reduces interstate commerce, right? Because that's all that they look at, and they look at competitiveness within the industry. So what they're trying to really do is to protect us, that we get the best prices, and that capitalism really works. So that's why it's not a private matter, because it's not a matter necessarily of like who's stroking whose ego, who's mad at who. It's what it means for us as a consumer and what it does for our price points and things that are just fair in the market. So if you don't have companies who are playing fair and playing by the right rules, it actually hurts our economy. And as individuals, that hurts our pocketbooks. So that's why if they see it at that level, they'd like to step in. But I think they just need to come up with some higher fees to force people to play fair, if that's the case. I don't
know. Google has to work 5 hours to earn $22.5 million. I mean, this is a big deal.
Right, but my whole point is, if somebody socks them with a few $1 billion, if this stuff continues to progress, you can't play stupid and plausible deniability forever.
But they can't charge them that much because there's no damage.
Wait until the government gets through figuring out their budget for next year. They'll go after them for $100 million next time.
There you go. I say that's the way to
$100 million after that. It's all a money grab for the industrial military complex.
Well, there you go.
$22 million?
That's the way to solve our national debt.
What's that? A toilet seat in a plane?
They're just getting started, Dan.
Margie, that's not it. The FTC doesn't get the money.
Are you a delegate to Ron Paul delegate to the convention, Craig?
Hey, Dan, 20 million here, 30 million there, a couple of billion there. Eventually, it adds up to real money.
With $4 billion, you can bury DC's power lines. All right, so Alan, when we finish the show, we'll go into after party mode for whoever wants to hang out, and we'll open it up to any more people. But Alan, I know, thinks that this is bogus, and but he's switching from the ferry to go back home or whatever, so he's not reachable right now, as far as I know.
He thinks the case is bogus?
He thinks that it's he does. He thinks that it's a bum rap. And he's the first one. I mean, he's not at all disinclined, Ermine, to call Google out when he thinks they're doing something wrong. So if he thinks that, I want to hear his argument, but that'll probably be in the after party. So what you want to do is that video, if you're watching the produced version at any time in the future, this is July 13, 2012. If you go to my Google Plus profile, then you can find the actual Hangout video, and it'll be in there if he shows up. And then I guess this next topic here is an Alan topic. I don't know if anyone can weigh in on this. We can delay it till next week. Google shows developers how to make iOS app links open in Chrome. Is that something anyone wants to weigh in or can? Or okay,
Well-
so let me skip that until next week, or if Alan rejoins us.
Somebody's got a loud typewriter.
All right, let me. I want to get Craig in on this first, and then let's just go down the room here. This is a really interesting story. It has nothing to do with Google, but it's just one of those sexy tech stories. Amazon, they got into a tiff with California about collecting sales tax, and I remember in one of my first, about a year ago, one of my first McDermott Report shows, I interviewed the two principal players they were in the LA Times and everything, and I had them both on. It was really a good debate between big box retail and Amazon. And the basic argument that they have is that Amazon has an unfair advantage because they don't have to collect sales tax when they sell out of state. So in the 1990s, I don't know if it was 92 or 96, the Supreme Court ruled that in order for a state to collect sales tax, you have to have a physical presence in that state. So if a California company is mailing me a phone or whatever, and they do not have any offices or any stores in Virginia, then they are not required to collect sales tax from me. Now, at the end of every year, you are supposed to declare in your state tax form anything that you purchased and didn't pay sales tax on voluntarily and pay it. Of course, no one does that. I mean, I, of course, always do that, but I'm just saying in general. So the response was, but then the retailers were saying it's not fair if Barnes & Noble has a big store and they're paying all this staff and they're trying to sell a book and they have to collect 5% sales tax or whatever it is, where Sarek is, it's probably like 15% or something, plus a VAT or whatever in New Jersey, I don't know. But so the states began redefining, for example, in California, they're building some Kindles there. And so they started to redefine what physical presence meant. And California said they were going to start collecting sales tax on Amazon because they had affiliates there, people in California who were creating websites. Let's say you did a review on some electronic gizmo, and in your review you link to Amazon, to their product for sale. And then if someone clicks on that link, then you get an affiliate fee. And it's a little more complicated than that because like over a certain period of time you get whatever they buy, a percentage. But basically they were saying that because of that they had a physical presence. So Amazon launched a bitter war. But then what they've done is, and this is a paradigm shift for Amazon, what they've done is they've stopped fighting, and then they sat down with California and they came to an agreement, and they've come to an agreement with other states where they will voluntarily pay sales tax or agree to pay it, and they'll set a timetable when to start collecting it because it's tricky to implement and stuff. And so everyone's happy, right? But the theory is, what they're really doing is they said, you know what? In the past, we have had out-of-the-way distribution centers in little states where the labor's cheap, the land's cheap, and we don't do a lot of business, so we don't care if we have to collect sales tax there. These are not in New York or California or big states, Texas. So now what they're doing is now that they're going to have to collect sales tax, they can have 75 distribution centers in California, and they can load them up with their most popular items. And they're working, in some cases, on same-day delivery.
Yeah.
So it's one thing, the big advantage a retail store has. I mean, there are many advantages. Like we have a local computer store here, Royal Oak Computers in Front Royal. The guy's a friend of mine for 20 years. He knows everything. I love being able to go in there and get a diagnosis for something, or just be able to pop in there for a cable.
Well, especially for a Windows user, that's good.
Yeah.
But just to, whatever. There's no Apple store within 50 miles of me.
iPad case, yeah.
All right, so here's the thing.
That's the problem in Virginia. No Apple Store nearby.
What's called there's a thing called showrooming. I'm almost done introing this. There's a thing called showrooming where you go in and you can take a picture of the item with your Amazon app, the barcode, or you can just take a physical picture of the item. It'll look it up on Amazon and tell you what it costs. Like, wow, it's $7.85 with free Amazon Prime shipping on Amazon, or I could pay $13.99, but I'm going to get it tomorrow from Amazon, or I can get it right now. Well, if Amazon starts delivering the same day, that is there's no advantage for the retail store except for something like clothing where you'd want to try it on or that sort of thing. But for a commodity item, the one story came out and said that this could destroy a segment of American retail. So let me start with Craig and say, how big a threat? Now, it's not logistically possible everywhere, but in the big cities, it's absolutely possible. How big a threat would this be to big box and small box retail?
Okay.
If Amazon's delivering the same day.
I'm a big
hours.
Amazon user. I have Amazon Prime, which is genius marketing on their part, because I buy things that I don't even need just because they have the little Prime symbol next to them. And I get those items in 2 days generally, and free shipping, and I'm not paying tax yet. So far, the things I've been buying have had no tax on them. Of course, I do voluntarily pay, as Dan does.
Yes.
But I will say this, that it all comes down to efficiency of operations in any kind of retail situation. And if Amazon increases the number of their facilities, therefore increases probably the number of employees per item shipped, and starts increasing their overhead, then they're going to open up the door for other competitors to potentially undercut them with more efficient operations. So it's a juggling act here.
But remember, Craig, Amazon has all that data. They know that what people buy in Montana. They know what people buy in Dallas, Texas.
Dan,
and
back
they
up
can
a second
stock
here.
the distribution centers with
but Dan,
efficient
back up
items.
a second. If I have an efficient retail operation and I have a truckload of widgets come in, a whole truckload, and they come into my place, and then I sell them to people, right? My cost for getting that item to each person is going to be much lower than if I sat there and even worked a great deal with UPS and said, here, send all of these items to all of these people, right? So it's actually very inefficient to have to mail all of these items to a particular person, or UPS or whatever. That's not efficient, okay? The only reason that they've been able to do it is because, first of all, it is very convenient. I don't have to get in the car and go to the store, so I don't like to get in the car and go to the store. And I think most of their customers initially were people like me that knew exactly what we were buying and wanted the convenience of that thing being brought right to my door. And yes, maybe I could save some money, maybe not, but generally it's competitively priced. But if they start opening up more shipping facilities and increasing their overhead and so forth, it might become more difficult for them to compete with an efficiently run local store. I'm not talking about the big box stores like the Home Depots of this world. To me, those seem very high overhead. But some items that you buy there, you cannot reasonably ship by UPS, so that's an advantage they have. If I want to buy big pieces of fencing and so on and so forth.
Home Depot isn't high overhead at all.
Yeah.
They're all shipped to the store. They're all
but
shipped
what I'm
to the
saying is,
they're not manufactured
it's
in
a
the back of the
big
Home
piece
Depot.
of prime real estate on a major road. It's an expensive proposition. Whereas if you put a warehouse off of the main road, just a plain old big warehouse like Amazon does, that's much lower overhead.
They'll be located next to UPS. They'll do some kind of.
I hate to say this, but Home Depot is that warehouse. They don't have air conditioning. They don't own any of their inventory. If you have inventory in Home Depot, it's owned by that company. They actually have one of the smartest.
It's still, at least where I am, they're still in prime locations on prime highways.
And they are getting such amazing tax breaks.
In their big, expensive buildings. And I will tell you right now that it's my opinion that they'll go out of business in 10 years.
Yeah, but
That
Amazon
there
has a
will be
prime
people that
location
will
as
figure
well.
out how to
Amazon
do
has
it
a
more
prime
efficiently.
location. They're on your phone.
Right. Yeah, let me just weigh in. I have to actually
Amazon
leave.
could start selling building materials too. I mean, there are more efficient ways to do just about everything. So
Amazon has a great model. They know what they're doing. Once they start building local warehouses, they will ship, and I agree with Dan. They are going to just dominate.
And Jeff, like I said, they
dominate.
know what to stock everywhere because they have all that data. They know what they
But
buy in
here's
Salt
my
Lake
problem.
City.
Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing
Dan,
to Best
wait a
Buy.
minute.
Look
They
what
know
they're
in
doing to-
Wyoming they're buying bullets.
They're not doing anything to Best Buy that Best Buy didn't do to themselves.
No, I'm just saying. When I look at a product, if I want to look at a product, I'll go to Best Buy. I'll look at the product and I'll buy it on Amazon.
Let me ask
Yeah,
you
because
this.
Best Buy is also high overhead.
How much
Amazon's fault.
How much
Hold on,
initial-
I'm next in line.
I'm
I'm next
saying.
in line.
Jeremy.
I'm next in line. Okay, because
the
I
lady
sat here
wins.
for a minute.
The
I
lady
don't
wins.
feel sorry for any one of these businesses because that's what business is. It's all about innovation. And I hate to say this, but I entirely agree with Craig. These guys put themselves in a situation where they saw years ago that the internet may be the next hottest thing, and they decided to sleep on it. You slept, and now you're getting eaten for lunch. It's crystal clear coming forward that the internet, the world that we live in is going to be about service and technology. And if you're not in those two businesses, you're going to be in a tough spot. And the fact that Best Buy or anybody else is calling boo-hoo, too bad.
No, but yeah, but I think that. But let me say one thing, and then I'll be gone. I have to actually leave. I think California, what they did, right? They said, okay, we're trying to collect the money. Now, Amazon, and I'm an Amazon associate, so I was shut out for during that time frame. So, what they're doing now is they're saying, okay, we're going to collect the sales tax. I think it's in September of this year for state of California. But if they do institute one-day shipping, it's a done deal, man. I mean, they are just going to clean people's clocks. And
But
California is
there
going
are some things that they can't really feasibly ship. And so you're still going to have to go somewhere and buy those. Unless they figure out how to, like I say, deliver the fencing material and all that, they might very well do it.
But Craig,
I even
understand.
buy my dog food. I can
they're
get my
shipping
dog
it to
food
Home
delivered in
Depot.
2 days.
I'll be concerned if they're gonna ship same day grocery.
Yeah.
I
Craig,
haven't
they're
gone to the store in
shipping-
months.
They are shipping the fencing to Home Depot. Why can't they ship it to your house? That cost is still
Exactly.
built in.
Well,
It's right
but
by
Dan, but wait, Dan. If I have,
I'm next.
if I
I'm
have
next.
a big truck, and I ship, I gotta kill this. Wait.
Oh,
and I ship a ton of a whole truckload of items to one spot. That is cheaper than me breaking up all those items and sending them to 1,000 places.
Yeah, but they also don't have to pay for all the sales associates that Home Depot has.
That's right.
And they
That's
have a
what I
bunch
was
of-
talking about, the
they
high
have a bunch of
overhead.
robots
and
that are picking
a
this
high,
stuff.
expensive retail location.
But why is that
Yeah.
Amazon's fault?
Dan, how many centers
It's
did you
not.
say that
I'm saying
Amazon
it's a
has in
fault.
California?
How many what? And then, but we got to go to
How many
Margie next.
the depots or stores?
I
You said
don't
they're
know.
going to have like 75 or whatever.
Oh, I was
right?
speculating. I mean, maybe 7. I don't know. Whatever it takes.
To
They're going to
do
pick certain
one-day
population
shipping.
centers because most people are clustered in certain places.
No, this is
I
this
can
is
get-
huge
I
freaking
get-
country. To do one-day shipping, you need a lot of stores, and as you said,
No.
You
I
wouldn't
can get
offer
one
it
day
everywhere.
right now, and I'm in
Costco
the middle of
doesn't-
nowhere.
you
I
pay
get,
for it. You don't.
but
It's
see,
not free for you.
I get
I'm
2 days for free.
No.
I am
Craig,
a Prime user too. I
I'm
have
talking
Amazon Prime.
same day
Yeah.
shipping. I'm
and
talking
so,
the same
and so
day.
it's not that much of a stretch to
yeah.
say that they can add some more locations and they can give us one day. I mean,
The amount
We're
of
getting
money
2
they
day
have
now.
to. If you want to have one-day shipping, the way you get it right now, without increased cost for the consumer, they probably will have to have much more number of depots in places like California or the bigger states. Texas, for
that
example.
was my initial point, that they're going to increase their overhead by opening up all
Exactly.
these other places, and they're going to
Exactly.
open up the door then for somebody else who operates more efficiently
That's his
to
point.
to replace
Yes.
them,
Exactly.
which is fine.
It's the cost for us.
No,
yes.
I'm saying is if they didn't do it carefully, and if they spend all this money on setting this up, and if this backfires,
Does anyone ever?
Absolutely, it could backfire. It's just like
They
Home
can
Depot
try-
building
they
all these
tried in a
stores. They
couple. I
built too
think they're
many.
doing it in a couple
Jeff
places.
Bezos is who we're comparing this to. Jeff has been brilliant these past 10 years. I don't think he's going to go up there and just completely foul up and say build 1 million stores that he doesn't need. He's strategic and tactical.
He's going to try a few
nobody's
places and
saying
see how
he's
it
bad,
works and
but,
crunch
you
the
know.
numbers. He's also a
Okay.
visionary, which is
Right.
important. Margie, what do you think?
and they don't have a real competitor at this time.
Margie,
Yes.
what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not in it.
You're not in it? All right.
Just like
not
getting-
Michael, what do you
So-
think? What do you think the impact?
You know that Amazon is building distribution centers in a big distribution center in San Bernardino, right?
I don't, but
in California. So their presence is going to be quite large.
I don't think it's crazy to think that they could work a deal with UPS or even their own team. But they're such a big player.
Who is really the competition?
Hang on, let me get Michael.
But Dan, I don't understand. How can you not see that it is not cheap to take individual items and take them and bring them to people? That is not inexpensive. They've been able to do it efficiently with certain products and certain services, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do this for every retail item that we buy.
I didn't say that, Greg. That's why I was talking about the analytics. They know what sells in different parts of the country. They know
Amazon just doesn't make
it's still not cheap to bring it to me.
And they don't make a lot of money.
What's the difference, Craig? What is the difference if they went to UPS and they're not some small player? They're like like Vivo, for example, on YouTube. They can sell their own ads. They have a special deal because they're huge. Yep. But we can't negotiate that same deal. But Amazon can go to UPS and say, we want a thing where you set it up and we're going to try it in Santa Monica or San Francisco or Dallas or wherever as a test. And we want, if we get the stuff ready by 2 p.m., we want it same day service. And we want you to set up X number of trucks. It doesn't cost them, it shouldn't cost that much more. If you do a deal with an existing carrier,
but
that's
it's
what they do.
still expensive to take the items, individual items, and take them and deliver them to people. Look at the post office.
We should listen to
West.
They're going out of business
because that's what they want to do.
That's what Amazon
deliver
does.
things
They're undercutting everybody. What's the difference? If they deliver it in 3 hours or 1 day, if as long as UPS, if it's local, how is it any? I don't understand your point. So you're saying that Amazon is doomed and the big box retailers is the way to go.
If it's 1 day, then you need to make more runs.
Dan, can we give Wes a chance to talk? He does ship freight for a living.
Who?
Wesley.
Yes.
All right, hang on. Let me get Michael in because I said I'd go in line.
Dan, the reason that the post office should go to 1 or 2 day a week delivery is because it would be much more efficient for them to only deliver those things once or twice a week. It would cut their costs tremendously. The reason they're in deep trouble is because they try to deliver every day. That's expensive.
I think you're missing the point. Why don't you flip from business tactics to looking at the consumer side? Is it cheaper? Does it benefit me? If not, then they shouldn't do it. If it doesn't benefit the end consumer, they won't do it. If they lose money, they won't do it.
Not only does it benefit the end consumer is willing to pay for it.
Well, a lot of consumers would like the items brought to them. There are consumers that love to shop and that want to go out and see, touch, and feel and like that experience. So those customers may be late adopters of this.
The sad thing is there will not be many stores where you can go and do it anymore.
No. I think you guys are missing it. I don't think there's going to be consumers that are later adopters across the board. There's certain things that they will not do that to, and there's certain things that they will. And each person will have their own mix.
Here's the question that Craig is trying to get to and failing. Michael, is it cheaper to operate a Walmart or an Amazon distribution center?
It depends on how many people's buying, and how much profit each is making.
Yeah, and the price of each item, if it's a real inexpensive item, right? I mean, I know Amazon sometimes loses money on me because I'll order, a $2 cable sometimes, and they 2-day deliver the damn thing to me for $2.
A Walmart costs more than the startup of an Amazon seller. True.
It's about averages, Craig. It's just like when they sold the Kindle, they don't make, just like Google, they sold the Kindle at cost. And they anticipated, making
That's
money.
Right, but they
don't make money from everybody.
My point is, if they start selling to everybody and giving everybody 1-day delivery, and everybody starts going on their website and buying $2 items,
but that's ridiculous, Craig. I didn't say they're doing it to everybody. I didn't say they were doing it for every item, and I didn't. And to say that everyone's going to order $2 items is ludicrous.
Well, that's what it would take to put all these retailers out of business. They've got the data
to pick the markets to test it.
Dan, let me add to what Craig said. I ordered a cable and it was shipped from China. The cost of the cable was $5.
Okay. right, Mike. Any more nuggets of wisdom before I beat up on Craig again? Okay, Pam. I think this makes sense. I think they can use the data where they know what cities they do a lot of business in. They know what items sell well in those cities. They can target those particular locations. They can choose logistically, like Sam Walton used to drive over towns and pick where to put the Walmart based on the traffic patterns in his own plan.
Tell you,
they can be very
Craig,
selective.
You're not Pam. Quiet for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
I like the referee. I mean, she's only being nice because I got her name right tonight. Pam, what do you think? This is what effect would this have on retail? Just say I'm right, and we can go on to the next. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think the truth is I think that Amazon doesn't make quite the profit that they hope they would make.
They have a very small profit margin.
Because the logistics are really horrible. For shipping, I get things in 3 days or 4 days, and they have these huge hubs where they collect and ship out a bunch of crap at once, and I just don't think it long term that this business model is going to be as successful, except for the fact that you don't have to go to the store, but you're going to have to pay the sales tax. That's just that advantage is going to go away.
If they come up with a tube system, that would work. If they come up with some kind of transporter system, that would work. But right now they're building a tube system. I think is it in London?
Like a big vacuum tube, like from the days of when you put the thing in the bank thing and it sucks it in.
They're building one. I think it's in London or one of those places over there. But something like that would make sense because that would be very efficient. Now all of a sudden I could put the widget in this tube device. Why are you laughing? They're doing it.
No, I'm just thinking, I'm buying a dryer or something, and all of a sudden it comes crashing into my garage.
I think they're 6 inches diameter and they're like 18 inches long, so that's your size limitation. But the idea is it's extremely efficient, and so they can put it in this thing. They can say where it's going to go, and a few seconds later it's wherever.
You mean everyone has a vacuum tube running to their house?
The luggage at airports is exactly how it works. It sounds like a train wreck to me.
This is failure-oriented strategy. So it's another crazy theory from Craig. All right, Wesley, who actually knows something about this, right?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you? I'll be right back, but basically explain why Craig is completely wrong in everything he's saying. So, and I'll be right back.
That means I'm wrong too. Shit.
You're gonna put me on the spot, huh? No, actually, on the trucking part, you guys asked a question earlier. Why don't they take a truck if it costs something to deliver it to like Home Depot? Why can't they deliver that to somebody's house and deliver it? Well, there's a couple of problems with that. Is all trucking companies have residential rates versus like a business rate. So that's one thing they look at as well. Another thing is if you got a truckload of supplies like Home Depot has, most homes don't have the facility or the equipment to get it offloaded and that kind of stuff. So trucks normally have to work their butts off, to either help offload the stuff by hand or sit and wait longer because they have to wait, for people to get the stuff off the trucks if they don't have a forklift.
But wait, can I ask the question of you?
Sure.
When I looked at FedEx back in the day, they had a lot of similar challenges, which was we're going to get something to you within 24 hours. Nobody said it could be done. They figured out the spoke and wheel concept, where it's like there's one main hub and there's these other one. You know what I mean? So if you were to take a neighborhood or take an area and do the same spoke and wheel every single area, seems to me like you would have a big spoke and wheel and all these other smaller ones, and that you could create a system that really just links everything together and you can make it work. Now, in terms of the logistics of taking things on and off, it seems to me like it would start with a bigger truck and then you would go towards smaller trucks as you hit the residential neighborhoods. I could be wrong.
And it sounds all very expensive.
Not to me, this is my belief. I believe Amazon is the next UPS. I think what they're going to do for 5 years is they're going to ask UPS or FedEx or anybody else to be their main partner and do this. They're going to learn everything they can from them. They're going to get rid of them, and they're going to create their own. So instead of shipping through UPS or FedEx, now you have a chance to ship through Amazon.
Oh, that's over the top. I mean, I think that they're not going to. They know their limitations, Ermine.
I don't think so at all. I don't think Jeff does at all.
But
Didn't
the
I post a
thing
picture?
There's no reason for them to have a middleman. If they're going to do this,
That's exactly it.
there's no reason for them to be paying UPS.
they could do
exactly
it, but
it.
UPS.
And that's where
they
their
could do
money
it either
comes
way,
from. It's when
it
they can fix
depends.
UPS.
The reason that I don't think that they can do this is because I still get back to the efficiency problem. Is if you're selling a bunch of higher dollar items like $100, $200, $300, $500 items, then maybe it's worthwhile for me to ship that item to Joe Blow. But if I'm selling a $2 item, a $3 item, a $5 item, I don't think there's any way they can make it worthwhile to ship that item to Joe
But
Blow.
Craig, all
So-
they're trying to do right now is get you to purchase, and they're taking a loss on your $2 item to get you to consistently purchase from Amazon.com. So they're training you, and they're training a slew of consumers to do exactly what you've been doing. Over time, what they'll say is we're charging you a fee for those smaller items. That's my belief.
Yeah, maybe, but then that opens the door for the local retailers to sell those smaller items.
Absolutely.
So my point is the retailers that are selling the higher dollar items, they're definitely threatened. I mean, they're dead right now. They're dead in the water.
They've been dead for a while.
But all these small items and local groceries and perishables and things like this, there will be local retailers for a long time until they're disintermediated with devices where we just create the products right on our desktop.
Okay,
But
Craig.
what I don't
See, here's the
understand-
thing. You're talking about Home Depots. Just looking at Dallas, Texas. You're near there, Ermine, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I see 4 Home Depots in Dallas. I see 20 Walmarts.
Yeah.
They could have 1 distribution center in Dallas, and it could serve the outskirts.
Yep.
With Walmart, you're talking 20 store managers making 6 figures. You're talking 20 leases, 20 guys who get the carts, 20 of everything, right? You could have 1, and it doesn't have to be prime real estate. It doesn't have to be on the main drag. It could be out in the boonies.
Yeah, that's where they get their efficiency from, but the inefficiency comes
they're
from delivering
robots.
each individual item.
They could
That's
work
where
a
the
deal with
inefficiency-
UPS or something. One person said they should merge with UPS.
I don't think they should. I think
Oh,
it
they
should
can
be-
buy UPS probably.
Yeah, that's my take. There's a buyout there.
Alan is here, thank God. Alan,
Wow.
I've come to rescue you, Dan.
okay.
Oh,
So real quick, Alan, what are your thoughts on this? And
Wait, we lost him.
I have no idea what you're talking
He's
about.
here. Okay.
okay, this is great. Say that one more time, Alan, and let me get my screen capture. Go ahead.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Can I? That's part of our new intro. Okay. So
Amazon's going to kill everybody. That's what we're talking
the
about.
whole theory, the 5-second explanation. Amazon is now that they're having to pay sales tax, they're putting more distribution centers and the theory is they're going for this
Sure they are.
same day distribution because
Of
that
course
would
they are.
eliminate the one advantage physical
thank
retail
you.
has.
Of course they are.
So I think
They already
is
do
this.
this.
Is
This
this
is-
going to
this is-
yeah, they're already
this-
doing it in some places with their
They
robots.
do this in
you know.
Japan. This is a no-brainer.
Thank
They're
you.
going to do this in major markets. They're going to expand to not so major markets. Who actually thinks they're not going to do this? Raise your hand.
Craig,
No,
Craig
no,
thinks it's a dumb
Walmart,
idea.
Walmart became the largest retailer in the world for killing it in distribution. That's it.
But the debate is this, Alan. The debate is this. The inefficiencies of delivering each individual item to a homeowner, to a specific home, versus the efficiency of having those items be delivered in a big truck to one location and then having the people come there and pick those items up. This is the debate, is which of those two models will win out.
But they're already
They both have
doing that, and they're
advantages and
kicking
disadvantages.
butt.
Craig, they're the same model. They're identical.
It's just whether it's 2 hours or whether it's 24 hours. That's the only difference.
No, not even that. Craig is saying, I mean, if look at it this way. If you pretend that Best Buy is a huge warehouse full of items, then you suddenly realize this is the Amazon model. So what Amazon can do is they can essentially put warehouses, whereas now we call them big box stores. We're now going to call them warehouses instead, and they're going to hire some guy at minimum wage to drive something from that big box store to your house. That's all this is. And who is echoing? I've got a terrible echo.
I don't
Here,
hear
I
it.
wanna add
Alan,
this
it's
part
really,
to it.
let me go to Ermi, but
And I've always-
so what you're
okay.
saying, Alan, is this is no different than a Costco or a Walmart, except
That's exactly
that
what this is.
Except there's no, they don't have a,
There's
you
no
can't go
walk-in,
in there.
no walk-in business.
Right, there's no walk-in
business.
business. You can only go to walmart.com and order it, and they'll bring it to you.
Yeah. And if you want to ask about efficiencies of that, you're asking the wrong person. You should be asking Oleg, who is running a business based on that model.
Or you could also, another thing, Craig, what if they did have not a storefront per se, but a pickup spot where you could drive to that? You could be in
Remember
Home
the old Sears?
You could be in
Remember
Home
the old
Depot.
Sears warehouses? They did that.
Oh,
What
Remember the
about
old
that? I
Sears?
mean, what if you could go and get your, because like Craig is focusing on,
Dan.
I'm going to order aluminum siding from my phone, and they're going to bring it in an hour, and it's going to cost $1,000 to deliver it. I mean, that's.
But
He's
here's
picking the
what
most
I'm trying to
dramatic
say
example.
about all of this is Amazon, I've always said, they're probably the best social network that's out there. And I think people are starting to get that they do have a lot of information on us, and it's poignant information because it's information on what we buy and how we buy it. They will, in my foreseeable future, they will set up these box stores, and you can't go into them right now, and that will be their distribution center, and at some point you will be able to go into them like you can at Costco. They
don't
are
even-
about to run stuff like we've never seen before because they got hip to it.
I don't even think they need to let you go into the store.
Now,
No.
that is very, very possible. As they could do a hybrid situation
Wow.
where they have some items that you walk into a big warehouse. Like I harken back to Sears. Remember the old, you're not old enough, Dan. Nobody else in the Hangouts old enough to remember this, but the Sears used to have big warehouses where you could go, and they had a little office in the front, a little place where you could go in, and the guy would have a little computer, and you needed a part for your lawnmower or whatever, and then somebody would go way back in the back and get it.
Exactly.
It was a very similar situation to what we're talking about.
What if
And-
they opened a full-fledged retail store? That's something we talked about almost a year ago in one of the very first shows. We just lost Craig. Alan,
That's
I think.
exactly what they're going to do.
What about a full-fledged, like a Costco type store? They've got an amazing brand that when you, I mean, they're huge. They're
Yeah.
massive, and their
To be
brand is
honest-
so
And-
associated with value and quality, right?
To be honest, I'm not convinced that they're going to actually make it so you can walk into it ever, simply because I think that changes some of the efficiencies and changes some of their economies of scale.
I agree.
Maybe they will. Maybe I'll be wrong on this one. I don't have a strong feeling about it, but I don't think they need to.
They don't.
In
If I have
fact,
to drive out-
in fact, Ermine, here's a different take on that.
Yes.
What if instead of saying come in and browse, you can say for a $5 or a $10
Yes,
fee, we'll
yes,
bring
I
something
agree.
to you.
I completely agree. That's exactly where they're going with it, but I think they're going to give people the additional option. The value of it is I can
Could be.
go online to Amazon right now. I can pick the 20 things I want to buy. They can pack it up for me. I can it's a drive-through shopping. Guys got to love this idea, I would think.
Apparently, I'm echoing. Is it fixed now, Alan?
I think you're onto something, Alan. I'm sorry.
I think it's a lot better now, Dan.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
think the
sound like
deal
you're
was
echoing.
I had the.
If I have to drive out, pick something up, I wouldn't want it. I want it delivered. Unless it's way cheaper, but I doubt they have a
Well-
big store in my city. Now, I have a little city.
Michael, I don't want to be a focus group of one. I know it may not be something that you appreciate, but I think it would be a lot of things that the majority of people appreciate. And that's there's data that's telling them this. They're not just making this stuff up.
Ermine, there's no reason that Amazon can't look at a specific city, and they'd want to do it in a fairly large community at first for scale,
I agree.
and to say that we know that in San Francisco or Salt Lake or Detroit, wherever, that they're buying a lot of these 12,000 items are very popular, and so we can. What if we set up a like a storefront like Craig's talking about, where you're buying it online, and then you can pick it up, and you just go there, and they email on your app. It's that you just show a barcode, and you walk in there like at Walmart, and they scan it, and they give it to you, and they can pre-select the location. They can pre-select the items that are in that specific location based on what sells, and they can cut out that delivery cost that Craig is talking about on an individual basis, and just bring the 18-wheelers in and just sell the cream of the crop stuff in the same way that Aldi does. Aldi has one steak sauce. They got one paper towel, one kind of steakums.
They can just take all the old Best Buy stores, because they're going to go bankrupt anyway, right? And they just pop up shop there. Just kidding.
So what you're saying is, the bottom line here is that you're saying that they're better at sales and better at management than the other guys, and that's why the other dinosaurs are going out and they're coming in. Really, it's because they're better at doing retail. Simple as that.
Amazon is better at IT, obviously. They're better at selling online because that's what they do. In the same way, everyone has their thing. Google has struggled in social. They've struggled in design. They still have a fairly cumbersome interface for some people. As much as they want to conquer those things, it's not in their culture. That's not what they do. Apple, on the other hand, has always been really good at design. My sister said, like, even the box, you open the box, and it's so beautiful. That's what they do.
But Dan, Walmart,
if Apple tried to do a search engine, they'd be a disaster. Walmart's good at certain things, but they've tried to do higher end stuff. They try to do, fancier stuff, and their people rejected it. It was a big fiasco, and I think they ended up firing a bunch of people. McDonald's has tried crazy things, and they ended up firing all the staff, the executives, because it was such a disaster. You do certain things well.
But it's possible to change, and I think McDonald's is actually a good example of that. Their McCafes are doing remarkably well.
Very well.
And that was something that everyone predicted would be an utter flop for them, but it wasn't. They learned from earlier mistakes. They learned how to do these sorts of things, and I think other companies can learn the same sorts of things.
So
and they taste nasty.
If Walmart could learn from Amazon, there's a possibility that Walmart could steal their fire, because Walmart already has a lot of key locations and already has a lot of warehouses and trucks and a lot of infrastructure in place, and they're pretty efficient about
and they have the
moving
same
stuff
data.
around.
They know what sells in certain towns.
And they're known for being very supply chain efficient and just in time and all of this stuff. So it's possible that it could be a war between those two.
Who pays to set up the Amazon warehouses?
Amazon. What do you mean? Who pays?
Okay, how do they pay for it? Do they make that much money?
They make, I mean.
Yeah, they have to pay for it. They're paying for it.
So won't that raise prices from Amazon?
Well, but they're not going to roll this out. They're not going to roll this out to every town in the country. They're doing it in a few places to test. That's the whole thing. They can try it and see what goes on.
And in San Bernardino, the big warehouses already exist. It's a big distribution center already. So basically, what they're doing is taking over a building that already exists.
Yep.
Yeah, they could go to San Bernardino and they could say, Pam, we're going to do a test market, just like Google's doing. They're not rolling out gigabit to the nation. They said, we're going to pick one town and see how it goes.
San Bernardino happens to be within 1 hour of Los Angeles, about an hour and 20 minutes from San Diego, within an hour of Riverside, and so it's actually a pretty good place to set up a distribution.
They are so smart with it, and they'll just make a bunch of right turns.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. A war between Walmart and Amazon would be nothing but good for us, for the consumers.
That's exactly it.
All right, so we all agree that all retail will disappear within 2 years.
No.
Because of...
We're all in agreement. Yes, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Who did the Nielsen thing? Was that you, Alan? And then I'm going to go back to a couple topics that we hit on that you...
Hey, Dan, before you do that,
yes, Craig.
Dan, before you do that, I have an announcement to make, and I have to leave. And it's possible that this could be my last Google Plus show.
Why?
Because Brad has asked me to come on his tech webcast, his podcast. Mm-hmm. And I've heard that once somebody goes on that show, they they really become big time, and the Hollywood offers roll in. So
Bradley Horowitz?
No, Brad in Australia.
Yeah,
I did that
and
show once. He's great. He's a fantastic
yeah, and
guy.
I'm not saying that I'll forget about all of you all when I'm rich and famous, but it is a possibility.
Oh, Craig, don't leave us.
Just want to let you
The
all.
only thing I hate about Craig is that he grosses with one website. My 3 newspapers or 2 of my newspapers gross, which really pisses me off.
And the other thing you hate about it is that it's almost all profit.
Yeah, he has like 2 employees. I got like 30 people. But yeah,
All right.
But anyway, we're and also, Craig, I need to update you. I'm gonna make them. We got a thing we got to do with 2 of my people with Craig, and
we got to do a hangout.
I told
That's
them
all.
I'm gonna force them because this is ridiculous that it's taking this
Okay.
long. So
Okay, we'll do a hangout.
I had a lengthy conversation with them about it, but I'll talk to you soon. This weekend we'll chat or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Craig, as always. So
Nice talking to you.
Alan, was the Android growing faster than Apple? Both companies. Who put that in? I don't know.
It wasn't me. I have a healthy
that may have
disinterest
been
in this
Craig or
sort of thing,
Jason.
naturally.
I don't know. Well, maybe we'll skip that because I haven't.
I mean, I've heard basic news of it. It's Android is growing, Apple is growing, everyone else is losing ground. There used to be this company called RIM. Nobody cares about them anymore. There's this company called Microsoft. Nobody seems to care about them. So it's basically right now it's a 2-company race between Android and Apple.
Indeed.
That's the story.
All right.
And that could change, but that's the story right now.
All right. Earlier we discussed the settlement with the FTC, where Google's going to pay $22.5 million.
This is a joke.
And we thoroughly discussed it, but let me give a quick summary. Apparently, Apple has terms of service that say with the Safari browser you have to behave a certain way. Google allegedly violated those terms of service and stored data they weren't supposed to store. It's the largest ever settlement from the Federal Trade Commission, $22.5 million, and it's what Google earns in 5 hours. So
Right.
it was their biggest thing, and Google's like, eh. So you think it's BS? Whereas Mike said that he thought they got caught with their pants down.
They didn't.
What do you think?
They followed Apple's directions, and Apple is basically saying, we're going to screw you over. And this is part of the big nuclear option. Basically what it is, Michael's a developer. I know we've got other developers here. Basically, what developers do when they try to do something and a browser doesn't let you do it is they try to find a workaround. So in this case, Safari didn't let them do something that every other browser did. So your natural inclination is, okay, Safari's got this bizarre quirk. Let me go see how to get around the quirk. So what do? In this case, they turn to Apple's support boards. And Apple's support boards said, if you are trying to do this, here's what you do to do this in Safari. So they said, okay, so this is what we do. And now everyone turned that into, you're circumventing Safari's privacy options. Well, I've got 2 things to say to that. One, if it's circumventing, why is it that Apple told them to do this in the first place? And 2, if they are circumventing, why in the world does Safari have this security hole in it that lets somebody circumvent it? You don't circumvent around a documented feature, which this was. So this
why
seems
did they
utterly bogus to me.
So did they agree to it, or was this the decision?
It's still rumors. Nobody knows for sure. It's not been publicized yet exactly what's going on, and Google is probably going to say something along the lines of, "We agreed to pay this fine," the trade-off being that they admit no blame.
So the smart
which
people
is the usual way these things
like
go.
you know it's at worst complicated, at best bogus, and they just move on because, like I said, they earn this amount of money in 5 hours, and the average citizen will never understand this issue and could care less. This isn't
right, and they just see this as
disagree. And can I say why? Or
sure.
What in the world is Margie sharing? Oh, okay.
The challenge that I have with it is one of the things that Google is known for is its privacy policies. Okay, when you keep making these little glitches, and however it's perceived from the consumer, the trust goes down. And that's more damaging to the brand than it is anything that they can do from a PC standpoint. So when people go back, well, yeah, but I remember they did something weird with Safari, that's the real problem with it, is how consumers perceive it.
I will agree with you 100% that this is yet again a perception problem.
Who will win the debate, Alan or the black rectangle?
Great.
I'm agreeing with her, so
The
it's hard
black
to.
rectangle.
The one thing though is like Apple basically.
Your screen's off. I'm sitting here arguing with the Wizard of Oz. Go ahead, Mike.
One thing though is like Apple basically said that if you're not in Safari and a trusted cookie, then you're illegal, and they allow Google to do it. So it's not like they're doing something with privacy that Apple isn't doing internally in their own browser. They just don't want anyone outside of it doing it.
That's the issue, is that the Google is held to different standards, as is Twitter, Facebook, and MySpace, is what I tried to say earlier. They signed an agreement with the FTC that there were certain things they were not going to do, and one of them is track people in this certain way. They found a loophole around it, and that's why they're paying the price through the government realm, as
Here's the
opposed
thing. Here's the thing, Ermine. It's not so much that they violated that agreement. It's that the way that Apple told them to do what every other browser lets them do. This isn't an issue about doing this sort of thing in Firefox. They didn't get in trouble for doing this in Chrome. They didn't get in trouble for doing this in Internet Explorer. They got in trouble for doing this in Safari. So it's not overall a violation of the agreement. It's that Safari didn't let them do one particular thing. Now, you could say that that's a bug in Safari. You could say that that's a glitch in how you have to use Safari. You can, and in some ways it is, because Apple tells you how to work around the glitch. Apple tells you how to avoid this feature.
I thought you said Apple's forums did.
Apple's forums with an official Apple post on it. This is Apple telling the world how to get around this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did not know those aspects of it, and I can't speak to that. You might
No, and that's fine. It's one of those bizarre, nuanced things. And I'll agree with you 100%. This is a perception problem on Google's part. Absolutely 100% agreed. Google, once again, is losing the perception war.
Right, and not necessarily the reality war. You're right.
Right. I'll agree with you 100% that again, Google's marketing department continues to be missing in action.
Okay, I agree.
Is this a legit view, Alan, or is this like you went to I.O. and you drank the Kool-Aid?
It might be.
I had this view before I.O.
Here's where I have a question. Who is going to cough up $22.5 million for a perception? Why did Google not fight this? That's my question.
Because it's 5 hours of revenue.
No, but you know what? You have
It's not that big of a deal.
$22.5 million.
It doesn't mean that much to them. It's just a little money. It's a drop in a bucket.
Hold on a second. Because perception is reality, you stick 20 lawyers that you pay $1 million a year to, and you say, fight this. Unless there's, in my opinion, perception again, there may be a degree of something, there's a truth value to some aspect.
But isn't this a big distraction for some of their biggest people having to worry about this, and it's a time
No, this is why you hire lawyers.
That's my take.
exactly.
I think you take the lawyers and you fight this thing for the next 5 years.
No.
And that's what I'm getting frustrated. It's like Google is rolling over and taking it. Fight the stuff.
Because they know they did it. That's probably why they're rolling over and taking it.
That's kind of
but you can argue the only reason I can guess about why they're not fighting it this way is simply because they don't want to start looking like Apple. There are two possibilities. One is their marketing department really is once again missing in action, and I think that's the more logical explanation. The second is that if we want to play conspiracy theory and the long game, that they don't want to start looking like they're a pack of lawyers, and they think they can eventually start spinning it so that Apple does look like a pack of lawyers. Now, which one do I believe? I believe the first one. I think it's just their marketing department's missing in action.
All right, so it's settled.
It always is.
Okay, so up next is this topic.
Recapping next.
You had this topic here that you're the only one who knew anything about. Google shows developers how to make iOS. Boy, this is an obscure topic, Alan. This is not a ratings bonanza.
Yeah, that really is totally obscure. It's so obscure that I didn't write it.
Oh, maybe Oleg did that.
It was probably Oleg.
All right, so let's talk about our anniversary show.
As I say, let's talk about Alan. We never talk about Alan.
Oh,
Alan is a
Alan,
privacy freak.
Let's
He's
talk
not
about
going to
you.
talk to you.
He's so private. I'm like, I'd like to talk to Alan. Can I talk to Alan, Dan? I never get a chance to.
Alan, I'm only
Alan,
kidding.
so
Alan,
what are
I'm
you
only
doing?
kidding. Don't leave. Don't leave. I'm only kidding.
We're not going to. I just want to. I want to get the official broadcast over, because it's 2 hours and some
we can
ridiculous
interview
thing.
me. We can interview me on a slow news night.
And or at the after party, that's fine. Okay, so here's the thing, Alan. We got to do this. You were among the panel. You are the longest member of the panel.
I am the weakest link. No, wait a minute.
Well, you can be two things at once. No, you're one of the first. You are the first member of the current panel to have joined the show, and I even think you may have joined it before it was Google Plus Week. I can't remember, but we have 52 episodes as of tonight to figure out what to do with.
And I think we counted that. We must have counted that a little bit wrong, because I went and looked at, or we had 2 episodes in 1 week, because the first episode aired. I think I dug it up. It was on July 27th.
Okay.
So we've got 2 weeks until we celebrate our anniversary episode. We've got a lot of stuff that we're working on, that we're cooking up. But I want to ask all of our audience to help us with kind of a.
Hang on, let me
help us with kind of a crowdsourcing episode here. We want people to go back to think of their favorite fragment, their favorite event, their favorite thing from the past year of Google Plus Week. All of them are sitting in YouTube, so we encourage you, go back, look through them, find your favorite part, and tell us when and where it is. And we're going to try to do something special with all of the submissions, so we're looking forward to some really good ones.
It's about 100 to 150 hours of video.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's nothing. That's what crowdsourcing is good at.
Really?
Maybe we could look. Should we look for volunteers who agree to? Should we look for volunteers who agree to tackle certain episodes? How should we?
We can do that.
I think that's the best way.
If there's an episode you're really interested in, we encourage you to go look at it. Find your favorite episode, and I'm telling this to all of our viewers out there. Find your favorite episode. Find your favorite scene in that episode, and let us know what it is that you like.
Give us the time of it.
Tell us when and where, and we're going to see what we can do fun with it.
There were some epic things. I remember Chris Perillo and Oleg, that exchange when he said Oleg was, saying something derogatory toward Apple, as Oleg does, and Chris said, "Then why are they kicking everyone's ass?" Like screaming at it. They were screaming at each other. It was awesome. It was great television. I loved it. And then of course we've had some wonderful moments with all kinds. Mike Elgin was great. Linda Laurie. With just her insights, and she really gets it. Okay,
we've had all sorts of great times. So try to get that to us within the next week or so. And in for the what did we do? What did I just say? The 27th for the 20. What is it? Yeah. So the first airing was the 29th. So for the show for the 27th, we're going to try to have some good memory clips. We're trying to line up some really, really awesome guest stars, and hopefully that's going to come through. And we're looking forward to starting yet another year of Google Plus Week. Yes, Pam?
How do you want people to submit the clips? Do you want the episode week? Do you want the date? Do you want the minute to this minute, or what? Could you explain, please?
Sure. You can send us the link to the YouTube video. And when I say send to us, I mean send a message on Google Plus to Dan, myself, and Oleg, or to any other member of the panel. When you do send that to us, you can either link us to the video on YouTube, or you can give us the date. We prefer you give us one of those two so we don't have to go hunt it down.
The best thing,
If they're-
Alan, will be is if they just put do a private or public post, whatever, and they could put the YouTube player in the post, just attach the link, and then say,
Yep.
from 48:06 minutes to whatever, there was this funny thing,
Yes,
or
tell us the-
interesting, or a great
Tell us
exchange,
the time
great
and
debate.
tell us why you liked it.
Now let's look at time lengths here. We're looking probably what kind of frame you think. It could be really short. That's fine if it's just really funny or really interesting. But we probably don't want to get too long. Like,
No, the
you
shorter
should
the
find
better.
like the best under 30 seconds if possible, because we may have so many of them. We don't, unless it's
Because there have
really
been an
epic.
awful lot of good moments in the past year.
Oh my goodness,
So-
yeah.
And we know the show normally runs 2 hours, 4 hours. We don't want just the highlight clips to run 2 or 4 hours. So,
Right.
so we're going to be picking it down. We're probably going to pick some of our favorites from the favorites and do a little trimming and editing. So the earlier you get it to us, the better chance you have of getting it in.
And there may be Alan and I, we may get and Oleg, we may get together and do a post requesting people to claim certain episodes. Like, can someone do 1 through 3 or whatever, or we'll figure it out. But there may be a post on this. So this is taping Friday night, and we'll see what happens, because we do want to kind of get some stuff together, and we're all volunteers. This show is not a profitable show, let me tell you. It costs all of us a lot of time, and it costs me money, but so we do it for fun and to learn. So I'm excited about that. So I'll finish with Alan. Let me go to Wesley. Any final thoughts on this wonderful Google Plus week, Friday the 13th, 2012?
Not really, man. I just haven't been on in a while, so it's nice to be back on again and see everybody's faces. But it's been an interesting show today, so I've enjoyed it so far.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks. Pam, any final thoughts about anything we've discussed or anything else on this Google Plus week?
No, I don't think I will be making that public, but it was an okay week.
There's always a mystery there. With her chin covering lower third there. All right. Michael Banks, this is your first Google Plus week. Welcome. You were excellent. Very interesting guy. Pleasant, smart, and you're a great addition to the team. So it was nice to meet you this evening.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
What was the most interesting thing you saw this week or today or the last couple days in the news or tech news or whatever?
About what the Surface tablet, how that's going to enter the market and if it can thrive and succeed.
I think that's the big thing, the compromise. Like, a tablet can't do everything. There are things we want to do on our device that's mobile, either tablet or phone. And there are certain things that you're just like, damn it, I wish I could do this. But you wait till you get back to your desktop or your laptop in the office or home. And if this is what it claims to be, or anything remotely close, this could be finally the thing that bridges that gap. That's why I'm so excited. Not the entry level, but the higher end Surface that's going to actually take the complete Windows experience and bring it to a super portable device. That's going to be really exciting.
Hopefully the price is right.
Yeah, I hope it's not $12,000 or something. That might be a kind of a downer. All right, Margie, you're relaxing.
Yep.
Anything exciting happened this Google Plus week as Ermine and Anthony get their cameras on?
I got to launch this really cool page called Oasis in the Stream with Alan and some other really great people.
It's
that's pretty
Oasis
cool.
in the Stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like tips and observations, that sort of thing about Google Plus, right?
Yeah, Google Plus tips, social media, technology, just whatever we want to talk about when it pertains to technology and media.
Awesome. And we're always learning, and we're always trying to share that knowledge and as we go. Ermine, always a pleasure. You were feisty as always. I am paying for this microphone.
I'm getting back. I just always, as usual, want to thank you guys. I learn so much every single time I'm on the show, what's going on from a tech perspective, and you guys have no clue how smart you make me look at work when I can tell people what is really happening in the world. So as usual, just thank you for keeping the conversation and me astute.
Yeah, if someone at work, they're gonna say that, yeah, your buddies at Google got slapped with the FTC fine, and you'll be like, it's actually a bum rap and you'll be like,
Right,
so on it.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They told them how to do it in the open forum, and they should
Exactly.
never.
I'll send you links tomorrow. Alan. All right, that was awesome. It's always great to see you, Airmean. Okay, Anthony Klauser, who's still protesting SOPA, right? Is he even there? Is he peeing or something?
I don't know.
So we got to ask him. He's peeing. So we got to ask him, like, tablet or phone? What's your
Are we
weapon
still on this question? Good
your
grief.
distraction?
This was
of
the
choice?
question when I left the ferry.
Alan, there was a funny comment. I forget. But there's a bunch of funny comments. And we've not done a good job because Alan and Oleg were gone for much of this. And this is kind of a weird show. Not as bad as last week when I had a thunderstorm or a hurricane or whatever it was. But Alan,
That was 2 weeks ago, Dan.
Your final, you're right, it was 2 weeks ago.
Hey,
Yeah.
Anthony's back.
IO's done. Let me go to Anthony real quick. Anthony, what was the most interesting thing that happened to you this week? Other than you finally figured out how to turn your light on.
But not the microphone, obviously.
Not the mic.
He's not muted. Your mic's off, buddy. He's our technical advisor.
We're in trouble.
Can you talk? You can't talk? If you figure it out, just start saying something. Alan, man. I don't know. What are you going to do, you know?
I've got a great deal of sympathy for him. The number of Hangouts that I've been in recently where I've had one technical glitch after another is just incredible. I'm amazed, actually, I'm amazed the phone call we did earlier worked, to be perfectly honest, for the entire ferry ride.
Well, it took like 12 times with 20 minutes. We just sat there while he dialed you over and over and over again. It's like,
yeah, but once I finally connected, I was on for an hour straight. That's just
Yeah, he was. That was really
given
good.
modern technology. Anthony, we hear you.
Well, let me finish this, Alan. What I had to do, the delay was I didn't know you wanted me to call you. I thought you were going to join from one of your devices or whatever. And so when you said phone, I was like, oh, God, I didn't have my laptop because this is the laptop I use for the teleprompter, but I didn't have a script tonight. So I just winged it, right? And so I had to plug the wires in, the audio, to do the mix minus thing. And then it didn't work at first. And then I had to do a shot because then I had to set up some shots on the produced version where, like, there's one shot where I'm talking to you because there was just this weird voice, right? They didn't know who it was. So I have me next to you, then I have you solo, and then I have you with the Hangout. So it'll be interesting for you to watch it later as you see what shots, because I have a picture of you in different places when you were talking. So you'll find that amusing. And but yeah, that was so. This was great. This was a good week. Not as rapid fire developments as everyone took a breather from I/O still, but we're all excited about getting more reactions from people in the field with the Nexus 7, anticipating a Nexus 10. Knock on wood. And it's just it's an exciting time. It's like the development keeps increasing in the pace of development and in the crazy ideas they come up with that is so awesome.
I really, really hope that Google can keep up the momentum that they've started to build. And, we keep talking, we say over and over and over that there's this perception war. We talk about this evening how, they lost the battle with the FTC, in this perception war. And hopefully with the Nexus 7, they're going to start gaining some ground again. And I think that's really Google's biggest problem, is there's just this perception of what they do and how they do it. And hopefully I/O was the beginning of a change with them. And we'll see. I'm hopeful.
I think so.
Not overly optimistic, but I'm hopeful.
I think so, and it's just interesting as we've watched. It was IBM or I guess the first computer was the Trash 80, right? I mean, the first mainstream PC was the Trash.
That would be the Commodore PET.
Okay, and then it grew, and then it emerged at Microsoft was the leader, and Apple was the little guy that sold high-end, expensive but pretty things, and then
Let's talk about history of computing another
and,
evening, Dan.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just fun.
Because
we
don't want to go there.
Now everyone's getting into this. Everyone's getting into hard. It's just neat how they've evolved. But anyway, okay, awesome. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we're looking forward to our big anniversary issue. Hopefully we can get some clips in. Look for announcements.
Where are they supposed to send those clips?
We'll do a post tomorrow. Give us about 12 hours, and we'll have a post on Saturday, July 14th. We'll do a post. We'll talk about it in the meantime. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and everyone who participated in the show. I'm going to get ready to open this up. We're going to have the after party hangout. And thank you so much. And I want to wish everyone an absolutely amazing Google Plus week. We'll be back next week and every week, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Have a wonderful weekend.